At number 10, FKA Twigs. Back in late 2020, Shia LaBeouf came under fire after his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs issued a lawsuit over their alleged volatile relationship. The singer cited a number of allegations against her former partner, including him being physically violent towards her on many occasions, as well as infliction of emotional distress, as just some of the things that she endured while in her relationship with the actor. One of the incidents talked about in the lawsuits details a time where Shia was driving recklessly and threatened to crash if she didn't tell him she loved him. She also alleged that he knowingly gave her an STD and would sometimes grab her so hard that she would bruise. She opened up about her relationship with Shia, saying that it was one of the worst experiences of her life. To make matters worse for Shia in the public eye, singer Sia also came to Twigs' side to support her in her claims, saying that she too had been, quote, emotionally damaged by Shia on a few occasions, calling him a pathological liar and saying that he tricked her into having an adulterous relationship. Having these kinds of allegations against you is certainly not good for your career, especially as a public figure. At number 9, Karen Energy. Shia LaBeouf is sort of known around Hollywood for his attitude, but not in a good way. He's had quite a few outbursts in his day, and I'm going to tell you guys about one restaurant freakout that he had back in 2017. Shia had a bit of a meltdown at a bowling alley restaurant, and Shia flipped out at the staff members over an order of french fries. While at the restaurant in the bowling alley, he went up to order some french fries, and when he was refused because he was already drunk and belligerent, things got out of hand pretty quickly. In a video captured of the incident, you can see Shia behind the bar yelling at one of the staff members about his french fries. The bartender was feeling so threatened by Shia's behavior that he was holding a large bottle of Grey Goose vodka sort of as a defensive tactic. This made Shia even angrier and even took him to the point of angrily yelling at the bartender that he was, quote, an effing racist. After being escorted from the premises, Shia kept saying that they effed up and demanded that someone call the police, even though it was so unnecessary. He was very aggressive and rude towards the people in the establishment, and it probably left people with a very different view of the actor. Once again, this behavior is not good for his image in Hollywood, which could be another reason why Hollywood is so done with his BS. Now, before I carry on with this list, I would first like to take a moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also maybe consider subscribing to the channel as well to join the family in our little corner of the internet. At number 8, offensive. While at the Oscars ceremony in 2020, Shia LaBeouf came under fire after he was accused of being impatient with his co-star Zach Gottskin. Zach became the first person with Down syndrome to present at the Academy Awards, and while on stage with Shia, the actor was seen getting tense and rushing Zach along with his presentation, which was seen as offensive and ableist by many. Shia insisted that there was no ill will towards his Peanut Butter Falcon co-star, but even if that was true, it still doesn't take away from what this all looked like on stage. Being seen as discriminatory towards anyone is guaranteed to cause trouble for a celebrity, and having that kind of negative label isn't good for one's career, especially in Hollywood, where you have to be prepared and open-minded towards working with all kinds of people from all walks of life. At number 7, racism. On top of everything that people have against the actor, Shia has also been accused of being racist. After footage surfaced of the actor going on a racist rant towards a black police officer when he was arrested in 2017, people were not quick to forget what Shia did and said in that video. The video in question captured the actor becoming enraged when a police officer denied him a cigarette. The officer instructed Shia to calm down, but he simply ignored that and continued being aggressive towards the officer. In the footage, Shia could be heard in the backseat of the officer's car bragging about his, quote, millionaire lawyers, being racist towards a black police officer and calling them names as well. Shia chalked all of his behavior that night up to his white privilege, but it still made him look really bad and added to his bad reputation in the public eye. At number 6, plagiarism. In 2013, Shia LaBeouf was caught in a bit of a scandal after he plagiarized a graphic novel by Daniel Clowes in his short film HowardCantor.com. His short film debuted at the Cannes Film Festival in 2012, but after it was posted online in 2013, fans began to realize that the plot was almost entirely taken from the graphic novel Justin M. Damiano. After being caught, the actor apologized, but it clearly wasn't a sincere apology to his fans, because instead of speaking from the heart and being genuine about his actions, he was caught plagiarizing again in his own apology. Shia's apology said, quote, merely copying isn't particularly creative work, though it's useful as training and practice. Being inspired by someone else's idea to produce something new and different is creative work, and it may even revolutionize the stolen concept, end quote. Someone noticed that these words seemed a little familiar, and so after some digging, it was discovered that this apology was essentially copied and pasted from a Yahoo Answers reply to the question, why did Picasso say good artists copy? copy, but great artists steal. Plagiarism is a big problem, and in Hollywood that kind of thing is very serious, so the fact that he didn't take his plagiarism seriously may have shown Hollywood just how untrustworthy Shia is. At number 5, Too Far. Shia LaBeouf is no stranger to method acting. When he's cast for something, he gives his whole self, body, and soul to the role. In the past, he's done illegal substances and put himself into dangerous situations to prepare for roles, but what he did to prepare for his role in the film Fury definitely takes the cake. Shia spoke out about what he did to get in character for the film, and he said, quote, "The day after I got the job, I joined the US National Guard. I was baptized, accepted Christ in my heart, tattooed my surrender, and became a chaplain's assistant to Captain Yates for the 41st Infantry. I spent a month living on a forward operating base. I linked up with my cast and went to Fort Irwin. I pulled my tooth out, knifed my face up, and spent days watching horses die. I didn't bathe for 4 months." End quote. Cast members told sources that Shia kept opening his wounds so that they always looked authentic, and that very little makeup was used to create his wounds. Though method acting is a very impressive way of performing, Shia seems to take things a little too far in some cases, and some Hollywood executives might not want to take a chance on the actor because of this, since he could get seriously hurt and become a liability to them. At number 4, Walgreens Arrest. For a celebrity, getting arrested always draws negative attention, and that can be pretty damaging to one's career. Back in 2007, Shia's public image took a hit after he was arrested at 2:30 a.m. at a Walgreens in Chicago after a security guard tried to get the highly intoxicated actor off the property. When he refused to leave, that's when officers were called and arrested Shia for criminal trespassing. Apparently, this was part of Shia's crazy 21st birthday evening where he was trying to buy cigarettes but was too drunk to function. This irresponsibility combined with the arrest made for some pretty negative headlines, and as I said previously, it's not always good for someone's career. At number 3, Elastic Heart. In 2015, Shia LaBeouf came under fire for starring in the music video for Sia's song Elastic Heart. Fans thought that Shia's presence in the video was creepy and inappropriate, being that he was in the video alongside a then 12-year-old Maddie Ziegler. There were a handful of people who said that the video had undertones that suggested an inappropriate relationship between the two stars, and it made people feel very uncomfortable watching the music video. With this backlash and negative press regarding the video's undertones, this made people see Shia very differently, and it may have affected his place in Hollywood as well, because once you hear people's perspective of his place in this video, it's kind of hard to unsee, and we know by now that Hollywood does not forget these kinds of things. At number 2, Trash Talk. Shia is a pretty outspoken person. He's gotten himself in trouble on many occasions for saying things that are seen as offensive or mean, but what really did him in at one point was an interview he did back in 2008 when he blasted Steven Spielberg after working on Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The movie itself got mixed reviews at the time of its release, but when Shia criticized the film's director, that's when the hate began for the actor. He told the Los Angeles Times, quote, "I think the audience is pretty intelligent. I think they know when you've made crap. I think if you don't acknowledge it, then why do they trust you the next time you're promoting a movie?" End quote. He also went on to say, quote, "I'll probably get a call, but Spielberg needs to hear this. I love him. I love Steven. I have a relationship with Steven that supersedes our business work, and believe me, I talk to him often enough to know that I'm not out of line. I would never disrespect the man. I think he's a genius, and he's given me my whole life. He's done so much great work that there's no need for him to feel vulnerable about one film. But when you drop the ball, you drop the ball." End quote. Bad-mouthing one of the most famous directors in Hollywood is bound to affect your career in one way or another, and this could be one of the reasons why Hollywood won't want to work with the actor. And finally, at number 1, fired. On top of everything else that Shia has gone through, we also know that the actor has been losing work because of his bad attitude after allegedly being fired by Olivia Wilde from the upcoming film Don't Worry Darling. It was announced in late fall last year that Harry Styles would be replacing Shia in the film, and now we know that it was due to Shia's alleged bad behavior, as people cited that Shia is, quote, "not an easy guy to work with." It was alleged that there was some kind of conflict between him and Olivia Wilde as well, and so because of that and the fact that other cast and crew members didn't like working with him, Shia was let go. Getting fired is always a negative, but in Hollywood, when a lot of your work involves relationships with others and having connections, having a bad experience that was enough for you to get fired can ultimately burn that bridge and can result in you having less and less connections in the industry and therefore have less and less opportunities to find work. This could explain why Shia has hit a dry spell in Hollywood.
Coming in at number 10 today, we have the Kardashians. Let's face it, no A-lister in Hollywood would ever admit to being a fan of the Kardashian family, let alone being a very close friend. After all, the Kardashian family doesn't really have the best reputation in Hollywood. But Jennifer Lawrence doesn't seem to mind that, and she's even gone on record to praise the family and admit that she's actually a huge fan of their family and the show. With the star posing for photos with them, interviewing them, proclaiming her love for them, it has caused a large amount of critics and fans to find Jennifer's overall affection to be a little too much. Even when she talked about the family with People magazine, it would leave people cringing after she told the outlet, "When I found out I was going to be interviewing her, I was like, oh my god, my whole life has been building up for this moment. I wanted to get as much information as I could. I wanted to do my due diligence on Kim Kardashian." She since has developed a really weird relationship with Kris Jenner and even goes to eat dinner with the whole family from time to time. Number 9, her talent. In the beginning of Jennifer's career, a lot of people admitted that she was a force to be reckoned with, as she was able to win over a lot of roles that many other actresses at her age could only dream of having. With Jennifer also being given the title of America's sweetheart pretty fast, she then went on to use a lot of humor in her interviews in an attempt to become more likable and show that she was a really down-to-earth girl. However, at this time, critics then began to question her talent on the big screen. Sure, she looked like the full package, but can she really act? And this is a question people are still asking themselves today. And if you take a look at her last few box office movies, then the writing is definitely on the wall. As with the movies not really doing well, it kind of proves maybe if another actor was hired instead of her, they could have actually done well. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so you never have to miss out on what we might just cover next. Coming back to our list today, in the number 8 spot, we have competition. When it comes to the reality in Hollywood, it's hard, it's cold, and it's extremely ugly. As the truth is, everyone has their expiration date, and there are only a handful of stars who can actually make it in the long run, especially when it comes to their careers. Being in the industry, you have to face the hard reality that one day you are in, and the next day you could be out. And it seems like this is the case with Jennifer Lawrence. She used to be everyone's sweetheart with her bubbly personality and jokes, but these days no one's even paying attention to her. It's clear people have grown tired of her shtick pretty fast, and unfortunately for the actress, she hasn't been able to figure out how to reinvent herself just yet. With there being a lot of competition in the entertainment industry, there are hundreds of people who are exactly like the star, who can do exactly the same thing she does every day, and they can probably do it even better in the process. And because of this, the star has been devastated when it comes to losing out on roles, especially when she didn't land a role in Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Number 7. Box office failure. Jennifer used to star in some of the biggest Oscar-worthy films in the industry. However, these days she's pretty lucky even to get a good role, especially since when she starred in the film Mother, it failed in the box office. Not only was the film considered to be one of the world's worst movies, it was also considered to being one of the worst movies of the year it came out. With Jennifer thinking that the movie would be an Oscar gold movie at the time of its release, she would soon have a rude awakening after critics would tear her apart for her poor acting skills. Jennifer would then later open up about her failure of Mother by saying, "Did you guys not get it? I gave my body, Darren gave his heart for that script, and you don't get it. It's a little sad." And I remember letting it be sad for a couple of days. However, I think we can all agree that the movie was just confusing, hard to follow, and if it didn't end the way it ended, then we would still be asking ourselves, what did we just watch? But I mean, either way, we're still asking ourselves, what did we watch when we watched that movie? Number 6. Tired of her stick. There are only so many times you can fall on your face at a huge public event in an award show, right? Well, for Jennifer Lawrence's fans, they are tired of her shtick. As we have all come to learn, tripping on our designer gowns each time you make a public appearance on the red carpet can get old pretty fast, and believe it or not, it's gotten pretty old. Sure, a lot of people are clumsy like myself. I typically trip up the stairs every now and then. But when you purposely go on to show it in public and constantly talk about it in your interviews, it gets pretty tiresome. Yet Jennifer Lawrence doesn't seem to understand that, and she continues to put on the same klutzy show over and over again. And for a lot of people, it's only getting more annoying than her movies. And nobody is buying whatever she's trying to sell anymore. When she sat down for an interview with Howard Stern, she then tried to make light of the situation by saying next year at the Oscars, I fell on a traffic cone. Everything would be fine if I didn't fall on a traffic cone because it immediately looked like my heel snapped in England. I mean, on the Hunger Games press tour. I fell in every city. You see what I mean? Number 5. Fans don't trust her. It's come to the point where Jennifer's fans can't even trust the actress anymore, as she no longer appears to be authentic, as they think she tries to be one person in public and a completely different person behind closed doors. It's gotten to the point we all know she's putting on an act both on and off screen, and we're completely over it. And for Jennifer, this is definitely bad news, mostly because she has to rely on her fans to help her move forward with her movie career. And unfortunately for Jennifer, she doesn't really have a backup plan, as she once even admitted that she dropped out of school and that she doesn't even have a GED. With the actress dropping out of school at the age of 14 years old to become an actor because she never thought she was smart enough for school, even her parents would tell the star she was completely out of her mind. So when her acting career finally dries up, the actor may have to head to some adult classes, as she won't even be able to land a job at McDonald's, as most jobs now require you to have your high school degree or a GED. Number 4. Her behavior during the Oscar season. During any Hollywood premiere, Jennifer loves to act a little like a complete goofball, to the point we've all stopped counting, as we've seen it come from her way too many times. And it seems like Jennifer's behavior starts to get even more bizarre during camera interviews or when she's trying too hard to come off as funny and likable. But none of her moves have ever worked in her favor. In fact, it's actually turned off a lot of her fans, to the point all they can do is hope that eventually Jennifer will realize that she's being way too much and just start acting like herself again. But it seems like Jennifer just doesn't understand how she can do that. And if that wasn't enough, Jennifer once even admitted to being quite tipsy at a premiere of one of her movies. Not only was this very unprofessional, but it also had a lot of critics labeling her move as pretty dumb, as it's just common sense that you should never go to any job under the influence, and you certainly shouldn't go to a movie premiere absolutely trashed either. But apparently common sense just isn't a thing anymore. Number 3. Ridiculous quotes. It seems like a lot of people simply just are over Jennifer Lawrence and her ridiculous quotes that she makes with her magazine interviews, as it seems like she just doesn't have a filter, or she just doesn't have a good publicist from stopping her from saying things like she says. Like, remember how Jennifer tried to get a plane full of people to chant "Fly Eagles Fly" after they won the NFL championship? With that moment being pretty embarrassing for the star, you would have thought that she would have learned from this mistake, but sadly she didn't, and she's still out here making a fool of herself from time to time. And someone just needs to stop her before she goes on to do a full interview basically just on fart jokes. Number 2. Too much hype. So I think one of the major reasons Hollywood could be closing their door on Jennifer Lawrence is because she has so much hype when it comes to her and her career, especially in the beginning. Her rise to the top was very fast, and it resulted her crash to the bottom to be even faster. But that doesn't mean that there's no hope for the star in the future, as she does have the strength and the talent to pick herself up and to become a force in Hollywood that she is destined to be. However, with saying that, it isn't going to happen overnight, as the star has a lot of reflecting and learning to do. She needs to take this time away from her career to find new management, and more importantly, she needs to find a new way to build her public image. So all her fans can really do right now in the meantime is wait for the new and improved Jennifer Lawrence to arrive. But who knows how long that might take. And coming in at number 1 today, we have her love life. For the longest time, people have viewed Jennifer's love life to be a game to her, as people have alleged that Jennifer only seems to be dating more prominent men in Hollywood in the hopes that it will help her career. While we don't know if this is actually the case, it's not really hard to see why many fans and critics think this, as she seems to move around the industry dating directors and other actors, which could boost her career. With Jennifer making it no secret that her brain is always in panic mode and that she has a hard time focusing on her work and keeping things together, it's not really hard to see why the actor is more focused on her love life and everything going on around it. But I think it's going to be a while until we see Jennifer be casted in any Hollywood movie again, because it's just rumored that the star has been one of many major reasons why huge celebrity couples have split. And with Miley's new song Flowers hinting that the rumors surrounding Liam Hemsworth and Jennifer are very much, in fact, true, it might be a while until we see her on the big screen again.
After Will Smith slapped Chris Rock following a joke about his wife Jada's bald head, Hollywood was left in shock over how to deal with the incident. Zoe Kravitz was one of the people that shared her disapproval on Instagram. A few days after the event, she posted a photo of her outfit at the award show with a caption reading, quote, "Here's a picture of my dress at the award show where we are apparently assaulting people on stage now." A few hours later, she was showing off her outfit for the after party, and the caption on that photo read, quote, "And here's the picture of my dress at the party after the award show, where we are apparently assaulting people on stage now." Immediately, she started to get pushback, with commenters telling her she should stay out of it, and it's not her place to comment on what happened between the two men. Then things got significantly worse when people on Twitter brought up some old interviews that she gave, where she spoke about Jaden Smith, Will and Jada's son. Many of her comments were deemed inappropriate, and she was quickly called out for being inappropriate with him. Specifically, during one interview, Zoe said how she had a close relationship with Jaden, and at times she had to remember that he was much younger than her. In a 2013 interview with V Magazine, she made some pretty concerning comments. At this time, Zoe was 24, while Jaden was only 14. She said in part, quote, "There were moments where I was hanging out with Jaden and thinking, I can't believe you're 14. I have to check myself, like what I say to you." Adding, quote, "He has so much personality and so much swag, he is so much cooler than I am. And he's so handsome. I was always like, when you're older, you know, we'll hang out. Nope, that's inappropriate." Clearly pretty concerning that she would speak of him this way when he was barely a teenager and 10 years younger than her. But that's not all. A red carpet interview also resurfaced that is just as concerning. In the clip, we see that Zoe is on a red carpet speaking to a reporter when she notices Jaden in the background. She then calls him over and they hug during this interview. During the clip, we see Zoe call Jaden her date and even claim that he is the love of her life. At the time of this clip, Kravitz was 26 and Jaden was only 16. Zoe also said multiple times that she dragged him out to the award show that night so he could be her date. She added that she texted him that he had to come out with her, so he did. This is not the only time she's exhibited some questionable behavior. She's also been called out for her friendship with controversial fashion designer Alexander Wang. Wang has been accused of inappropriate conduct with models and other celebrities in the past, and recently admitted to some of this conduct. At first, Wang denied the multiple allegations against him, calling them fabricated. But a few months later, he shared a different type of message, expressing regret for his past behavior, saying in a statement, quote, "It was not easy for them to share their stories, and I regret acting in a way that caused them pain. While we disagree on some of the details of these personal interactions, I will set a better example and use my visibility and influence to encourage others to recognize harmful behaviors." Although he slightly danced around the specifics of what he did wrong, he did own up to some of the behaviors that he was accused of. If you're not aware of the friendship between Kravitz and Wang, it's been ongoing for many years. The friends are so close that Wang even made her a wedding dress for her, which is something he says he only does with his close friends. While speaking with Vogue about the dress, they described that Wang was, quote, working with one of his oldest and best friends, with Wang describing, quote, "Zoe was very clear on her vision, something pure, elegant, timeless, but with depth. She knew the reference she wanted, and that was Audrey Hepburn, but we didn't want it to feel too vintage or costumey." Apparently, Wang worked on the dress for over a year and did 5 fittings with Kravitz. He added that working on the dress was sentimental to him, and even added a special sentiment to it to honor their friendship. Wang added, quote, "I made a special embroidered note for her on the inside, and one for her satin lunch bag." He explains, quote, "The funny story is that she used to carry a brown paper bag around with her as her purse, and we would laugh about it. So for her wedding, I remade it into a white satin." Wang added that he would only consider this undertaking if it was for a good friend, adding, quote, "I don't usually do wedding dresses unless I really know the person because it's a personal and intimate process." The last concerning thing that fans are bringing up is the fact that Zoe Kravitz and Ezra Miller dated while Ezra was not of age. A viral tweet claimed that Zoe and Ezra dated when Ezra was 17 and Zoe was over 20 years old. The pair never confirmed if they actually dated or not, but in 2010 it was rumored that the pair were dating while they worked together on the set of the movie Beware of the Gonzo. Speaking to Collider magazine at the time, Zoe said, quote, "Ezra had the part and we met before I was actually hired just to get ready for a chemistry read, and there was chemistry," adding, quote, "We became best friends immediately." The pair have a 4-year age gap between them, which a lot of fans found concerning. It was reported that the pair dated for less than 4 months in total. While they were working together on the movie, paparazzi snapped a photo of them passionately kissing at a club, which went viral on social media. As of now, Zoe has not commented any further on the Will Smith slap or the claims that have been made about her. However, she did turn off the comments on the Instagram post showcasing her Oscars dresses, so it's clear she does not want to deal with any more backlash. Since the slap, Smith has faced heavy criticism, and the Oscars are starting an investigation to determine what disciplinary action they will take. Will has apologized on social media and recently announced that he will be resigning from the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. Although this hardly changes anything, all this would stop him from doing in the future is voting on the recipients of the awards at each Oscars ceremony. There are approximately 10,000 members in the Academy, all of whom are expected to, quote, advance the arts and sciences of motion pictures. This resignation also won't keep Smith from attending future Oscar ceremonies. He most likely will even present the award for Best Actress in 2023, as is customary with each Best Actor winner. Smith can even be nominated and win another Oscar in the future. Academy President David Rubin said, quote, "We will continue to move forward with our disciplinary proceedings against Mr. Smith for violations of the Academy's standards of conduct, in advance of our next scheduled board meeting on April 18th.
Starting off our list today in the number 10 spot, we have Stolen from Set. You ever wonder why it's said that Sarah Jessica Parker has one of the best closets in the world? Well, it's probably because the star stole so much of the clothing, bags, shoes, and accessories from the set of Sex in the City. Sarah's stealing got so bad that now she has around 95% of the clothing she wore on the hit drama series stored in her closet. While Sarah isn't the only actor who's ever taken things from set, she probably has been the one to take the most expensive things from set, as a lot of her wardrobe was high-end designer clothing. Stealing the clothing also caused a lot of problems for the film crew, as when they went to go back and refilm some scenes, they would have to delay it because she had already brought in some of the articles that she was wearing home. So because of her stealing habits, she lost a lot of credit within the industry. Number 9. Kim Cattrall ripped. Gracing the cover of Variety's Power of Woman issue back in 2022, Kim would open up about the SATC revival for the very first time since it aired on HBO Max in 2021. With Kim playing Samantha Jones throughout the original show's 6 seasons and 2 movies, many found it disappointing that she was absent from the revival. But it wasn't really a surprise, considering we have all been following the messy feud between Kim and her co-stars for years now. With the alleged off-screen tensions being between Sarah and Kim, it's been long presumed that it's centered around money, with Sarah being paid significantly more than the other woman on the show, prompting Kim to negotiate a higher salary. However, it seems like their feud ended up causing Kim to close one door and start another chapter, as she was heartbroken over Sarah's toxic behavior on set and felt like she just didn't belong. Number 8. Only does projects with smaller budgets. Though most people have trouble when it comes to separating Sarah Jessica Parker from Carrie Bradshaw, the truth is, they're completely different people, as they live in very different lives. Even their personalities are different in many ways. With Carrie loving all the glitz and glamour, Sarah tends to be a little more down to earth, considering she likes to thrift and buy eco-friendly clothing. There's a huge difference between the two. Sarah once even revealed that she only likes doing acting projects that have a smaller budget, rather than working on huge movies and TV shows. But given her name and what she's worth, a lot of small budget movies or TV shows can't support her pay wage or a budget. On top of everything else, it seems like small budget movies these days are hard to come by, unless you count short films. When she has found those types of roles, she nearly misses out on them because she didn't want to dye her hair or sign to a long-term project. She just has a lot of trouble with it. Number 7. Chris Noth. With all the drama surrounding Chris Noth, a lot of people have had a lot of questions for Sarah Jessica Parker, considering she worked with the star on the set. Despite it being months since multiple women came forward to accuse Chris of misconduct, Sarah Jessica Parker would seem to be unprepared when it came to a field of questions on the subject. And when she was asked her reaction to the controversy as a producer, she would tell THR, "I don't even know if I'm ready to talk about it, but I wasn't reacting as a producer. I should have worked on this because it's just And then she went on to note that since the allegations came forward, she hasn't spoken to him. But something was odd about her take, and it makes you wonder if she knew anything that was going on before it all happened. Otherwise, why would she act like she was a deer in headlights? Especially since the cast of SATC would come out to say shortly after their allegations, and they would say they were sad to hear about the allegations, and they supported the woman who had come forward to share their experiences, and noted that it must have been a difficult thing for these women to do. Number 6. LGBTQ outrage. Back in 2019, Sarah Jessica Parker sparked a lot of outrage when she made a special mention of the LGBT veterans in her tribute to fallen soldiers on Memorial Day. After the actor was criticized for encouraging decisions and reinforcing stereotypes with her Instagram post, in the post she would say, "On this Memorial Day, it is an honor to remember all of our men, women, LGBT veterans who sacrificed, who face selflessly and with grace. You have our lasting gratitude." Immediately, fans started to call out the star for being too politically correct by giving members of the military a special mention, with one saying, "Why can't it just be everyone that served? Are we so politically correct that we can't just honor all veterans?" And another fan would say, "Without singling out a certain group, I have a transgender relative. Last thing he wants is to be singled out. His sexuality has nothing to do with service." Number 5, red carpet looks. We all know Sarah Jessica Parker is a fashion icon, but there's been times where we all had to look at the actor and say to ourselves, what the heck are you wearing? Now I get it, everybody's style is different, and we all have found this sort of comfort in certain things, and that's why we wear it, and why we shouldn't judge other people. But it's clear that Hollywood is judging Sarah based on her looks, as they feel like Carrie just doesn't fit her overall image any longer. With the star wearing whatever she wants, she usually doesn't tend to worry about if her clothing is matching, which causes a lot of Hollywood to seriously raise their eyebrows, as they have for a long time labeled her as a fashion icon, and when she pushes boundaries, they can't help but think, why was she casted into the position of Carrie Bradshaw to begin with? Even with all the scrutiny, the actor has chosen to call out her haters by saying, "Most of us try to make a choice that makes us feel good, or like ourselves, or appropriate for where we're going, or who we're going with. We don't walk up to each other and say things like, ugh, awful." Number 4, typecasted. We all laughed and cried when SATC came to an end. While we all rooted for Mr. Big despite his unfortunate ways, the show still managed to have a huge impact on us. And it seems like with Sarah Jessica Parker, she's found herself being typecasted as Carrie Bradshaw, as beside from her role in the new Hocus Pocus movie, she hasn't really been casted in anything else. And as she is, her characters are exactly like the character in SATC. With her having her first big role after SATC in the film The Family Stone, her character immediately took us back to an episode where Carrie got caught in the rain and squeals that infamous scream while running down the streets downtown in New York City in heels, as her character has all the same emotional hiccups. And within this type of character, it's becoming really outdated in the industry. It's been really hard for her to find roles in the industry, as now there are 1,000 people in Hollywood auditioning for the same types of roles, and now that she's a little older, she's finding herself being casted out by the younger actors coming up from beneath her. Number 3, through some major shade. The world could have almost been a different place, as there was a point Sarah was having doubt about her character on SATC. With the show making both Sarah and her character Carrie Bradshaw icons, they were both able to change the way modern audiences view some of the issues that were raised on the show. So it's pretty difficult to imagine that there was a time when Parker was seriously considering not accepting her role. However, her main doubts revolved around not wanting to do a TV series for a long term. But in the end, Darren Star wanted her to play Bradshaw, and she agreed to sign on. But that hasn't stopped her from shading her character and how she addressed it. And she's even gone on to note the major differences they both have and how she never would spend the way her character did on a daily basis. Number 2, gray hair. Sarah Jessica Parker has been facing scrutiny for years for having some gray hairs, especially after thousands of fans read an Allure article that detailed fans all about them. With the headline screaming, "Sarah Jessica Parker goes gray," images would soon go viral, and it became a month-to-month conversation about how brave Sarah was for embracing her own gray hair. To the point even Sarah is pleading with her fans to go applaud someone else who has courage on something else, especially since she hasn't even stopped coloring her hair in the grays everyone was pointing out, or just hair boning highlights that were bleached out from the sun. Coming in at number 1, we have Anya TaylorJoy. Anya TaylorJoy once got to live out every female's dream of meeting Sarah Jessica Parker and talking about her days on SATC. Unfortunately, the experience seemed more awkward than sweet, as the actress went into details about the bad experience when she made an appearance on the Drew Barrymore show. During the interview, Drew would tell the Queen's Gambit star, "As a girl, I'm totally in love with you. I heard you like raves, you like SATC, you're cool, you're fun. Age transcends, I just want to hang out with you and bring back dance parties." Drew then went on to ask Anya if it was true that she went up to Sarah Jessica Parker and was like, "I'm watching you and Big." Anya then cringed at the moment and said when she fangirled over the stars, Sarah just freaked out and was a little uncomfortable and responded by saying, okay, I'm going back to my car now. It seems like Sarah was really not into spilling anything out to Anna because she was spilling out her whole bad breakup vibe and she didn't really care to give her knowledge or telling her how she could get through it.
And at number 10, didn't earn it. If you didn't already know, Gwyneth was born into Hollywood royalty, which definitely gave her a leg up in the business. Paltrow's late father, Bruce Paltrow, was a writer, director, and producer known for television shows like The White Shadow and Saint Elsewhere. He even had Gwyneth star in one of his last movies. Then there's Paltrow's mother, Blythe Danner, who is a Tony and Emmy Award winner who has appeared in countless films. But that's not all. Gwyneth's godfather is legendary director Steven Spielberg. Since she has so many connections, it's no surprise that she went into acting. But when accused of getting a helping hand, Paltrow denies this and claims that her parents did not help her whatsoever. When asked about her familial connections, Gwyneth said, quote, my father said, you are completely on your own, so he never gave me anything. I never had any supplementation, he never helped me with my rent, I never had a trust fund. But I'm not convinced she didn't get a huge head start. And at number 9, full of herself. Since Gwyneth is an A-list actress, it makes sense that she has insane amounts of confidence, but some of her comments about herself have made people roll their eyes. She once stated that she had the quote butt of a 22-year-old stripper with a completely serious face. She also talks of her ability to stay fit and eat clean like it's not something that has happened in part because of her privileged life. She told Elle, quote, it's so much easier to sit home and not exercise and criticize other people. What I love is inspiring people. She then commented, quote, I am who I am. I can't pretend to be somebody who makes $25,000 a year. Even adding that working as an actress as a mother is, quote, much harder than having a regular job and being a parent, which is total BS. And at number 8, Goop. Gwyneth started the Goop blog as a way to connect with her fans and share tips on how to live like her. But then things got a little too wacky and Gwyneth started to promote questionable and scammy products. Some of these products are a candle that smells like a vajayjay and a jade egg that's inserted up there to balance your hormones. But not only are these products strange, some of them can actually be dangerous. And the worst part is that almost nothing that Goop promotes is backed by science, but the site makes their claims as fact. Medical professionals have even gone out of their way to disavow many of the claims that Gwyneth makes on her blog. The company was even forced to pay $145,000 to settle a false advertising lawsuit. And at number 7, out of touch. Even though Gwyneth is an A-list celebrity, which means she lives a life we can't even fathom, it seems that she is particularly out of touch. And there are endless quotes from her that people use to prove this fact. The hate against her is so bad that Star magazine gave her the title of the most hated celebrity. In response, Gwyneth said, quote, I'm really effing good at my job. People who are interesting and good know that, and that's all that matters. Some other comments that made people cringe were when she said she would, quote, rather die than let my kid eat a cup of soup. Someone even did a financial analysis of one of her cookbooks, and it was determined that it would cost a family roughly $300 per day to eat as Gwyneth suggests. And at number 6, Oscar curse. Many in the business did not respect Gwyneth for her acting until she won an Oscar for leading actress in the movie Shakespeare in Love. But even though she reached the peak of her celebrity after that moment, many believe she was cursed after that Oscar win. Firstly, many people in general just didn't agree with the Academy's choice. Glenn Close was even quoted saying, quote, I remember the year Gwyneth Paltrow won over that incredible actress who was in Central Station, Fernanda Montenegro, and I thought, what? It doesn't make sense. Not only that, but the movies she starred in after the fact were all flops, and Gwyneth herself has even acknowledged that she made some really bad choices. She said that after her win she felt that she could do no wrong and she took anything that was offered to her, when those were roles she would never take today. Halfway at number 5, she disrespects her Marvel movies. One of her most notable roles was playing Pepper Potts in the MCU, but although the public has this strong affiliation, it seems that Gwyneth can hardly remember all the Marvel movies that she's been in. And a now infamous moment from Jon Favreau's cooking series The Chef Show, Favreau, who acted alongside Paltrow in Spider-Man Homecoming, brought up a moment from the film. Gwyneth then told him that she wasn't in that movie, which is odd because she was. She later addressed the mix-up on Jimmy Kimmel, where she said she was confused because she thought he was talking about the Avengers movies. She then revealed she's never even seen Spider-Man Homecoming at all. And if that's true, I guess it makes sense that Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man, had to reintroduce himself to Gwyneth when she forgot who he was. And at number 4, entitled. Gwyneth usually has a pretty good relationship with the media because of her famous connections, but that all changed when she had an incident with Vanity Fair that gave her a bad name in the industry. Apparently, the entire feud between them was because the magazine published a story about Gwyneth that was not approved by her. And although it's a nice gesture for a magazine to show you their stories beforehand, it is certainly not something that celebrities are entitled to. Gwyneth was asked by the magazine's editor to collaborate on the content for their cover story, but Gwyneth decided to refuse because they had recently done an unflattering story on one of her ex-partners, Brad Pitt. When Paltrow turned down the offer, he decided to go along with publishing the piece anyways, much to Paltrow's dismay. In response to this, Gwyneth sent out an email to a slew of her A-list friends, telling them to blacklist the magazine, saying in part that the magazine, quote, threatened to put me on the cover. Quite a threat. And at number 3, she's a diva on set. This one isn't much of a shocker, but apparently she's a real pain on set. I can imagine things were worse after her Oscar win. She was always used to having things go her way because of her famous parents, but on set she would demand to have the best lighting in every single shot and get in everyone's face to make sure she looked better than all her co-stars. Her diva attitude also transferred over to everyday life. According to the Daily Mail, when she visits the spa, Paltrow demands that the shower stalls are cleaned out before she even steps foot in them. She also constantly demands to be paid the most on her movies, even though so few of them are box office hits. And at number 2, Weinstein Connection. Gwyneth has a very controversial relationship with disgraced producer Harvey Weinstein. Her and Weinstein were pretty closely tied because they worked together on Shakespeare in Love, along with a handful of other projects. But she did make quite a statement when she decided to speak out against him when other women were coming forward with their stories. She revealed that she had also been put in uncomfortable situations by him, and that's the reason that she stopped working with him. Although many people supported her courageous decision, a lot of people felt it was BS because she had supported him for so many years beforehand when his behavior was basically an open secret. And finally at number 1, she's not a good lead. Gwyneth has starred in a lot of movies over the years, but it seems that the movies where she plays the lead roles do the worst, and the ones where she's the background character get the most traction. This has somewhat given her a reputation of not being able to lead a movie, especially since the few times that she has tried to headline a movie, the results have been pretty bad. And even though she won an Oscar, it hasn't propped up her image in the industry much because many felt that Miramax essentially bought her the Oscar to promote the movie, which if you didn't already know is something that happens quite often.
At number 10, we have she's lost her drawing power. Now, Cameron can still turn a basic movie into a box office hit. If you take a look at movies like Bad Teacher and The Other Woman, these movies both had middling reviews and Cameron was able to bring in millions of dollars to the box office. The problem is, however, for every hit she's also had some pretty major flops that the critics have ripped apart, and these movies have shown some pretty disappointing returns at the box office. Even in the movie musical Annie, it was a disappointment when its release failed to catch on with audiences, earning just $85 million off a staggering $65 million budget, which proves that Cameron may no longer be bankable on just her star power alone. At number 9, she peaked early. So part of the reason why it's such a downer to see Cameron's career to where it is today compared to where it was before has to do with the fact that just over 20 years ago she was positioning herself to become one of Hollywood's greatest comedic actors. In 1997, she added depth and humor to her character in My Best Friend's Wedding, and the press and critics quickly took notice. The following year, Cameron's performance in the film Something About Mary would earn her the Best Actress award for the New York Film Critics Circle. In 2003, her performances were even able to nab her a Globe and Globe nomination. Cameron's early career demonstrated her star power from Something About Mary to Charlie's Angels, and her career trajectory became even more frustrating as she wasn't able to live up to the expectations Hollywood wanted for her. Are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. At number 8, we have her comfort zone. So it's said the real reason Cameron is not able to live up to what Hollywood is now wanting from her is because despite her desire to get out of her comfort zone, she always seems to end up back in it. In the last decade, Cameron has been typecasted and has been forced to play variations of the same characters. In the movie What Happened in Vegas, Cameron is a career woman who marries a party boy. In the movie Night and Day, she plays a single woman who gets tangled up in a fugitive relationship with a spy. In the movie What to Expect When You're Expecting, Cameron plays a celebrity fitness guru caught off guard by oh so equalizing demands of pregnancy. And in the 2011 film Bad Teacher, Cameron did end up switching the gears in a raunch mode. However, the movie was still a rom-com. It's gotten to the point that Cameron's career has been so equivalent to writing an essay the night before it's due. You know, the moment when you think the essay is great and you're gonna ace it. However, you're most likely get a C on it and you're just gonna have to accept it was good enough. At number 7, Shrek overstayed its welcome. Now, Shrek started off as something unique. However, by the third movie, nobody wanted to see or hear from it ever again. Now, naturally, the film had impressive box office returns, and it warranted a couple sequels. However, it wasn't necessary for Hollywood to stretch out the franchise to a 4th movie. By 2010, when Shrek Forever After debuted, it was the lowest grossing film in the franchise since it all started. The audience would then finally be over the once lovable green ogres, and they were ready to move on to something more creative in the animated sequels. Now, the screenwriter Michael McCullers even told The Hollywood Reporter back in 2019 he had began writing a 5th installment for Shrek, which had some pretty big reinventions planned, which meant that Cameron probably wouldn't even be asked to return. At number 6, the sun definitely did not come out for Annie. Now, when you compare the 2014 remake of Annie to the original 1982 version, a lot of fans disagree with the remake of the beloved musical for many reasons. Hollywood missed a legitimate chance to make something great out of a musical, and instead of keeping it legit, they changed a lot from the beloved storyline, and that drove fans nuts. The remake did provide a rare opportunity for Annie to be played by a young black actress, and in return, it provided a rare opportunity for Hollywood to make a movie for young black kids, and that's definitely something we had to praise Hollywood for this golden move. For Cameron, however, Annie allowed her to sink her teeth into a meaty role against the other roles she's been typecasted in. This role would make older generations look at her in a new light, while introducing herself to an entirely new set of moviegoers. But the fact that her talent was drawn out by a bad script and bad autotune, it still made a lot of viewers mad. Sometimes it's just best to leave a film how it is, rather than trying to make it more current and up to date. So if you're listening and watching this, someone please save Annie. At number 5, she earned an early retirement. Even though Cameron started off her career late as an actress, she was able to find more success in Hollywood than most actors will ever see in their lifetime. Her debut in the movie The Mask grossed more than $350 million worldwide, and it paved a way for Cameron to enjoy a career in which she could turn even the most basic movies like Charlie's Angels into $1 million success. We also can't ignore the Shrek machine that went underway in 2001 after 4 movies and the wildly popular film in which Cameron voiced the beloved character of Princess Fiona. It grossed over $1 billion just in the United States alone, meaning the actress could have retired years ago just off of her success, so her absence isn't really shocking. Number 4, her books have hidden messages. So since Cameron has been absent on the big screen over the last few years, she's actually begun carving her career as a lifestyle author. In 2013, she wrote the bestseller The Body Book: Feed, Move, Understand, and Love Your Amazing Body. On the heels of that success, she also released a book in 2016 which examined the art and science of growing older and offered women to choose healthier lifestyles while feeling younger. In an interview, Cameron would highlight how the studio and film industry has a certain perception on how your body should look, and it's scary and a dangerous thing to put in someone's mind. That's why her books are more focused on personal wellness, because you don't need to look younger to feel younger, and it all starts with taking care of your health and taking the time to love yourself for who you are and not for what people want you to be. At number 3, we have Selma Spilled the Tea. So longtime friend Selma Blair dropped an unintentional bombshell when she talked about Cameron during an interview with Evening Standards. So Selma would go on to say that she would love to do a sequel with Cameron, however, she has since retired from acting. The actress would then note that Cameron has had an amazing career and she's been so successful that she doesn't need to return back to Hollywood. To no surprise, the internet would go into a frenzy at the announcement, considering Cameron never made it. Inside sources have since said that Cameron is being consistently asked to do films to get her out of retirement, and she's simply just not interested in returning back to the big screen anytime soon. But I guess we'll just have to wait for Cameron to clear this all up for herself. At number 2, acting pro tip. So Cameron isn't known for picking the best scripts to be a part of, and it's still shocking just how badly some of these movies she's been in have been reviewed. Now, none of her films since Norman Lloyd have been given a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and that even includes the Shrek franchise. Not to mention, Cameron's most recent film also collected some of the worst reviews in her entire career. In the movie The Counselor, critics have dubbed the movie unbelievably awful, partly because the actress could be seen seducing a yellow convertible. Entertainment Weekly has also referred to the scene as one of the worst worst scenes of the year when the movie was released. That tidbit alone shows how rough her career in films has become and why companies are so hesitant to work with her. And at number 1 today, we have her retirement. Now, it's not 100% sure that Cameron is serious when she tossed some headline comments during a reunion with the Sweetest Thing co-stars. However, she was telling the truth, and it seems like her breakup with Hollywood was mutual. Cameron would state that she was semi-retired, however she would love to still hang out with her old castmates from the movie The Sweetest Thing, so it would go on to show that Cameron has retired. However, she is still considering roles for the future. Now, Cameron will always have a career in Hollywood, assuming she would ever want to come back as an actress, and she definitely wouldn't have any problem finding her foot in again. However, if one thing's for certain is that we definitely miss the actor, so if you're watching this right now, please come back and show us something more.
First up, racial ambiguity. These days, being diverse in Hollywood is a positive, and most studios are looking to diversify their casting choices. But in the case of Jessica Alba, her ambiguous ethnicity hurt her casting prospects, because the industry is not able to fit her into a box like they do with other actors. Jessica Alba came up in the film industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when it was hard to land spots in big movies unless your complexion was very light. But it seems she was not white enough to get lead roles. Alba spoke to Pop Sugar about how her ethnicity impacted her casting, saying, quote, "They couldn't figure out my ethnicity. They were like, you're not Latin enough to play a Latina and you're not Caucasian enough to play the leading lady, so you're going to be the exotic one." After hearing comments like this, she was more determined than ever to play the leading lady. Since she's helmed tons of movies in her day, it's clear that she met that goal. However, that was short-lived, and she's now rarely on the big screen. In case you were wondering, Alba stated that her mother is white and her father is Mexican American. Aged out of roles. Back when Alba was in her heyday, she was starring in movies as the bombshell side character, known mainly for her good looks. Many of her roles were all about how she looked and increasing the sex appeal of the movie to audiences. Her main roles happened in her mid-20s, usually a scantily clad love interest or object of desire for male characters. She even graced the pages of adult magazines like Maxim. Since Alba is now older and more mature, she would not consider playing a role like that. But since that's all she's ever played, it would be difficult for a casting director to all of a sudden put her in a different light to audiences that already know Jessica Alba's type. And most of the decisions in casting are based on audience perception. Leading roles flopped. When it comes to casting in leading roles, it does not usually come down to talent, rather how much money studios believe the actor can make. And unfortunately, Alba has not made studios much money when she was the leading lady in her films. This has essentially blacklisted her from ever helming a movie again. Jessica Alba was given a few shots at big screen stardom in the 2000s, and sadly did not deliver what executives were looking for. There are only a handful of movies that she played a prominent role in that made over $100 million at the box office. These movies were Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, which also starred other big names. Alba had smaller roles in big hits like Little Fockers and Valentine's Day, but her roles were so minimal she's hardly remembered as being in them. Honestly, most of the movies she's been in are pretty forgettable, and I would be hard pressed to name any movies that she's been in. To name some of her biggest flops, the dance flick Honey took in $30 million in 2003, Good Luck Chuck brought in $35 million in 2007, Machete earned $26 million in 2010, and Escape from Planet Earth earned $57 million in 2013. After so many box office flops, it makes no sense for the film industry to take any more chances on her. Next up, harsh reviews. Other than making money, the second benchmark of a good movie is good reviews from the audience and critics. If an actor is able to score both, they have a long career ahead of them, but not being able to get either is a recipe for disaster. Jessica Alba seems to have the disaster formula. Her movies hardly make any money, along with getting horrible reviews. Not one but two movies that she's been in, An Invisible Sign and Killers Anonymous, scored a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't even know that was possible. While tons of other movies like Good Luck Chuck and The Love Guru failed to get over 20%. Even though she wasn't the star of any of these films, the fact that she's been in so many duds has put a stain on her relationship, because there is the potential that she is the bad egg in all of them. Many people have noticed her bad acting, and she's even won Razzies in the past, which are awards given to the worst actors and movies. She's been nominated for Worst Actress 3 times, Worst Screen Couple once, and actually took home the award for Worst Supporting Actress in 2011. That type of attention is not something you want if you're casting for an important movie. Gave up. One of the main reasons Alba is not working anymore is that she decided to somewhat retire when she was 27. Since then, she's been more focused on having a family and being with her kids. Alba told Access Hollywood, quote, "I really stopped acting when I was 27 full time," adding if I did do a job, it was really kind of a short period of time. But she made a point to not shut the door on acting for good, and instead only take roles when they felt like the right fit. She told Working Mother, quote, "I'm open to diving back into acting. It's my passion and my heart. I didn't take time from acting completely, but I certainly didn't make it a focus." At this point, Alba has a big family and other business ventures, so it seems she does not regret her decision. Honest Company. Speaking of Alba's other ventures, the most successful has been her beauty brand, The Honest Company. Alba co-founded the company after she had a bad experience using a traditional laundry detergent on her kids' clothes. Her newborn daughter broke out in hives after Alba washed her clothes because the baby could not handle the strong detergent. After this horrible experience, Alba set out to make products without toxins and harsh chemicals that would be safe for kids and people with sensitive skin. She hired Healthy Child, Healthy World author Christopher Gavin as a consultant, and LegalZoom founder Brian Lee to form Love and Honor, renamed The Honest Company when it launched in 2012. The company has been incredibly successful, selling $10 million worth of products in its first year. By 2015, The Honest Company offered more than 130 products and was sold in 4,400 stores. Alba's company generated $150 million that year, right around the time it enjoyed a market valuation of $1.7 billion. Since The Honest Company has been such a success, there's no reason to go back to the acting world. TV shows did know better. Movies are generally where all actors want to be. They don't call the biggest celebrities movie stars for no reason. So when Alba had a hard time getting cast in movies, she took a shot at the next best thing, television. In 2019, Jessica Alba walked away from an acting career focused on movies and took her first leading role in an episodic television show, LA's Finest. The show was about two female cops starring alongside Gabrielle Union. The type of show was pretty typical, being similar to most other cop shows, which is not great if you're trying to get out of a rut. Critical reviews were so-so, and it scored a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, with audience ratings not being much better. The show also aired on Spectrum, which didn't help it get attention. Shockingly, the show was renewed for a second season. Fox also decided to buy the show and play reruns on their network to fill empty slots. But unfortunately, the show did even worse on Fox than on Spectrum. The show was obviously not picked up for a third season. After this fiasco, her days on TV were finished. Health is now her priority. While speaking with Romper magazine, Alba revealed that she quit acting in her heyday because she wanted to focus on her health and being with her kids as much as possible. She explained to the outlet that after she had her first child, Honor, in 2008, her mindset on everything changed. She explained how her mother had cancer when she was very young, in her early 20s, and Alba herself grew up with chronic illness as a child. These experiences made her understand that health is the most important thing in life. Adding, quote, "That's really what motivated me. My motivation was not like, am I ever going to get hired again? Frankly, I was at the top of my career. I couldn't go back to what I was doing before and be authentic. I just couldn't. I didn't care about it in the same way." After having children, Alba realized that she wanted to do something bigger with her life and actually make a difference in the world with the platform that she had. One of the main aspects of health is using clean products whenever possible, which is of course what drove her to start The Honest Company in 2012. And at number 10, Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was best known for his role on Empire at the time of his scandal, although he was not a household name. But his fame exploded to new heights when he alleged that two white men, who were wearing MAGA hats, attacked him, shouting racist and homophobic slurs. The whole world supported him, and he became somewhat of a figurehead against racial hate, until it was revealed that it was all a lie, and he actually paid two men to attack him. After it was revealed that he faked everything, the city of Chicago sued him for filing a fake police report, as well as the cost of investigating the attack, for over $130,000. On February 11th of 2020, Smallett was indicted again by a Cook County grand jury on 6 counts pertaining to making 4 false police reports, and he was of course blacklisted from the industry. He was just found guilty of his crimes and will be serving time behind bars, and he will obviously never work in Hollywood again. And at number 9, Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar has finally been found guilty for his crimes and is now facing up to 40 years in prison for his charges. The former reality TV star, known as a sibling on the show 19 Kids and Counting, was sentenced and he will be charged in Arkansas. I can't exactly tell you what his charges are, or the video could get flagged, but he was charged with receiving and possessing illegal content of. After the guilty verdict, Duggar's lawyers made a statement saying, quote, "We appreciate the jury's lengthy deliberations, we respect the jury's verdict, and we intend to appeal." He's since been taken into custody, but his sentence has not been determined. Since the guilty verdict, Josh's sister, Jana Duggar, has also been arrested on similar charges. Since the family is now disgraced, nobody will want to hire them again. And at number 8, Travis Scott. Travis Scott has been blacklisted from the music industry following the tragic Astroworld festival that took place in Houston. As of now, 10 people have passed away following the festival, while hundreds are injured. After the festival, fans realized this problematic behavior was not a one-off, and Travis had encouraged rowdy and dangerous behavior in the past. Scott and the concert organizers are now getting sued in a mountain of lawsuits that equal to potentially billions of dollars in payouts. Since it's unclear who's legally at fault for the tragedy, no concert venue or insurance agency will ever want to work with Travis again, as the liability is just not worth it. Many have speculated that Travis could even go bankrupt because of the money he's going to be paying out. Travis also did an interview with Charlemagne the God where he took zero accountability for what happened. All of this just proves that Travis will not have a career when this is over. In at number 7, Joe Gorga. Joe Gorga is currently performing a comedy set around the country, but at a show earlier this month, his performance was so bad that his wife Melissa had to pull him off the stage. Melissa and Joe are best known from their time on Real Housewives of New Jersey. While he was performing a stand-up set at the Governor's Comedy Club in Long Island, his performance got messy real quick. After Melissa yanked him off the stage, Joe submitted a statement through his manager, saying in part, quote, "This was not my typical show. As I share my many life lessons in my stand-up routine, now I can add this one. Don't mix alcohol with Sudafed." He says he was not feeling well and decided to take something so that he would still be able to perform for his fans. But after he had a few drinks, his body did not react as well to the mix as he had hoped, and he started acting a little loopy. Joe said in the statement that he doesn't often take cold medicine and that his wife had not seen him like that, which is why she approached the stage to get him off. After this, who knows if he will be hired again by the venue. In at number 6, Drake. Drake and Kanye made huge waves in the rap community when they squashed their beef and came together to perform at the Free Larry Hoover benefit concert. Fans online said it was the concert of the year and were raving about Kanye's set. Some even said that it was his best performance ever. But sadly, Drake did not get that kind of response, and fans were disappointed and even embarrassed by Drake's performance. The big issue was that Kanye made a point to play a lot of his classic hit songs, while Drake practically only played music from his most recent release, Certified Lover Boy. One fan even joked that based on his set, Drake does not want Larry Hoover to be free. Drake has not responded to all the criticism, but I'm sure it's taken a hit to his ego. Halfway number 5, Chris Cuomo. CNN's Chris Cuomo has officially been fired from his network after an investigation uncovered the anchor helped his brother disgrace Governor Andrew Cuomo during his scandal. Earlier they announced that he was going to be suspended, barring the results of the investigation. But partway through the investigation they had uncovered enough to fire him. CNN wrote, quote, "While in the process of that review, additional information has come to light. Despite the termination, we will investigate as appropriate." This all comes on the heels of an investigation by the New York Attorney General's office, which suggested that he was heavily involved in his brother's scandal. Following his termination, reports are coming out that Chris was accused of sexual harassment, and that's a part of the reason for his termination. So it's clear that no network will want to touch him. In at number 4, James Corden. James Corden is the beloved host of The Late Late Show. He's produced viral segments like Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts and Carpool Karaoke. But a lot of people don't know that he started out as an actor and he wants to do more of it in the future. But unfortunately, the public does not want this for him and is doing everything possible to keep him away from their favorite musicals. He was a part of the live remake of Cats, which was a disastrous failure. Then after it was announced that Ariana Grande was going to be acting in the big screen version of Wicked, the public was worried that James Corden might try to get involved. So someone started a petition called, quote, "Keep James Corden out of Wicked." The bio for the petition simply stated, "James Corden in no way, shape, or form should be in or near the production of Wicked the movie." That's pretty much it, and almost immediately got over 50,000 signatures, so it's clear that James will not be hired for any more musicals in the future. In at number 3, Ice Cube. With the new rules surrounding vaccines in the workplace, some Hollywood stars have been kicked off new movies because they refused to get the shot. Ice Cube has officially stepped away from Sony's upcoming comedy, Oh Hell No, in which he would have co-starred with Jack Black, because he refused to get the shot. The cast was set to start filming this winter in Hawaii, but it was required that all parties on set get the vaccine. Apparently Ice Cube walked away from $9 million. Until vaccine mandates are lifted from production, it seems like Ice Cube will not be working. And at number 2, Steve Burton. General Hospital star Steve Burton confirmed on Instagram that he had been fired from his long-running role on the show over refusal to get the vaccine. After rumors had been swirling, he took to Instagram to clear up any rumors. He said, quote, "Unfortunately, General Hospital has let me go because of the vaccine mandate. I did apply for my medical and religious exemptions, and both of those were denied, which hurts. But this is also about personal freedom to me. Apparently, the whole talk about mandates happened after Burton tested positive for COVID back in August and production was shut down. After that occurrence, the vaccine mandate was created. General Hospital is currently the only soap drama that has the vax mandate. The other 3 main soaps are using regular testing and social distancing to prevent the spread. And finally, at number 1, Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson has been accused of horrific crimes by multiple of his ex-partners. Actress Evan Rachel Wood posted to her Instagram on February 1st of 2021, exposing that she had been by Manson. In the long statement, she said that he started engaging with her while she was only a teen, and she was, quote, brainwashed and manipulated into submission. She then claimed that she did not want to live in fear, and she wants to expose him before he does more harm. Concluding, quote, I stand with the many women who will no longer be silent. Wood, who was 33, met Manson when she was 18 and he was 36 back in 2007. They later got engaged in 2010 for 8 months until the relationship ended. This statement on Instagram came as 4 other women have recently come forward with allegations against Manson. Manson has denied the allegations, but he still has been blacklisted until these legal matters are sorted out. Wood even recently revealed that Manson threatened to hurt her 8-year-old son. The only person who has collaborated with him since the allegations was Kanye West, and nobody else in the music business wants anything to do with him. And at number 10, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin's career is on the verge of being over after he accidentally shot 2 people on the set of the movie Rust, killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Following the tragedy, the movie has been trying to piece together what exactly happened to cause this to occur. Blame has been placed on the assistant director, along with the armorer, but it seems that the set was full of safety concerns almost as soon as it started. And it was later discovered that other cast and crew members walked off the set before the shooting because of safety issues. As of now, the movie itself and Alec Baldwin are being sued by a number of parties. It's difficult to say how at fault he was in this situation, but at the end of the day, he is the one that fired the bullet, and until things are sorted out, he should not work on another project. And at number 9, Shia LaBeouf. FKA Twigs, real name Talia Barnett, recently exposed that she endured a toxic and abusive relationship with Shia LaBeouf. She later decided to sue him for his harmful and manipulative actions, unearthing tons of stories where LaBeouf was toxic, reckless, and even put her life in danger. Apparently, he was so controlling that she wasn't even able to look other men in the eye or he would get angry. She eventually had the courage to leave and is now hoping she gets justice for the terrible treatment that he put her through. The 2 parties are currently trying to settle their differences without a trial, but if not, it will be set for sometime in 2023. There have been no major updates in the case as of now, but singer Sia came forward during this time and revealed that Shia coerced her into an adulterous relationship with him. So clearly he has a history of mistreatment that must be resolved before he works in the spotlight again. In at number 8, Travis Scott. Travis Scott is public enemy number 1 following the tragic Astroworld Festival that took place in Houston. As of now, 10 people have passed away following the festival, while hundreds are injured. After the festival, fans realized this problematic behavior was not a one-off, and Travis had injured many of his fans in the past at his rowdy concerts. He and the concert organizers are now getting sued in a mountain of lawsuits that equal to potentially billions of dollars in payouts. Following this disaster, no concert venue or promoter will ever want to work with him again because the liability on his events will no longer be worth it. Many have speculated that Travis could even go bankrupt because of the money he's going to be paying out. There's even a potential for criminal charges depending on what is uncovered. And at number 7, Dave Chappelle. After his special Sticks and Stones, Dave Chappelle is at the center of a debate about whether comedians should be able to say offensive comments under the guise of comedy. It was clear that he had won because Sticks and Stones became the most watched stand-up comedy special of all time. Then he released The Closer in 2021 and was even more controversial in his stance on trans issues, reigniting the flames of cancel culture. Petitions were then filed asking Netflix to remove his special, along with Netflix employees leaving the company because they didn't agree with their decision to air the special. After The Closer was released, Chappelle tried to premiere a documentary but was not able to. He said, quote, "This film that I made was invited to every film festival in the United States, and some of those invitations I accepted. When this controversy came about, The Closer, they began disinviting from these festivals, and now, today, not a film company, not a movie studio, not a film festival, not nobody will touch this film." And at number 6, Tory Lanez. In July of 2020, Megan Thee Stallion was allegedly shot in the foot after a party at Kylie Jenner's house. A month later, she claimed that Tory was the person who did it. Tory has continued to deny this, but evidence keeps mounting against Lanez. The two are now in a legal battle as Megan wants him to be held accountable for his actions. Tory is currently facing 2 felony charges of assault with a semi-automatic firearm and carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle, plus the charge of personally inflicting great bodily injury. If he is convicted, he could spend up to 22 years in prison. As of now, he has pled not guilty and has fought to speak about the case publicly, but the judge has denied this request. Toy was then brought out of the Rolling Loud Festival during the Baby set, which was against Megan's restraining order because she was also performing at the festival. Because he violated this order, Megan is bringing him back to court. As of now, nobody wants to be affiliated with him. Halfway number 5, James Corden. James Corden is the beloved host of The Late Late Show, and he's produced viral segments like Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts and Carpool Karaoke. But a lot of people don't know that he started out as an actor, and he wants to do more of it in the future. But unfortunately, the public does not want this for him, and is doing everything possible to keep him away from their favorite musicals. He was a part of the live remake of Cats, which was a disastrous failure. Then, after it was announced that Ariana Grande was going to be acting in the big screen version of Wicked, the public was worried that James Corden might try to get involved. So someone started a petition called, quote, "Keep James Corden out of Wicked." The bio for the petition simply states, quote, "James Corden in no way, shape, or form should be in or near the production of Wicked the movie." That's pretty much it. And almost immediately it got over 50,000 signatures. So hopefully they listen to the public and don't hire him. And at number 4, Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen has been hailed the queen of shade on Twitter, and she wears that badge with honor. But in 2020 it was exposed that she did more than just shade people in the past, and she was more of a bully. Tons of her old tweets were unearthed where it was clear that she was attacking people for no reason at all. After the scandal, tons of her sponsors dropped her, and nobody wanted anything to do with her mean persona. At this point, people are worried that she doesn't deserve to have a platform if she's going to use it to attack other people. As of now, she is back tweeting following the massive scandal, but a lot of people don't want her back. And at number 3, Lea Michele. Lea Michele used to be the queen of musical theater, making a name for herself on the hit show Glee. But that all changed in 2020 when she got called out by plenty of her former cast and crewmates, saying she was a rude, entitled brat. The person who kicked this off was Samantha Ware. She started the entire downfall of Lea Michele, after she called out Michelle for the way she acted on the set of Glee. When Lea Michele posted tweets in support of George Floyd after his death, Ware decided to call out Michelle on the hypocrisy. She commented, quote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell?" adding that Michelle was microaggressive towards her and even threatened her. After this, plenty more people of color that Lea had worked with came forward to expose her. As of now, she is laying low, but it doesn't seem that anyone wants to work with her. And at number 2, Marilyn Manson. Actress Evan Rachel Wood posted to her Instagram on February 1st, exposing that she had been abused by Marilyn Manson. In the long statement, she said that he started engaging with her while she was only a teen, and she was, quote, "brainwashed and manipulated into submission." She then claimed that she did not want to live in fear, and she wants to expose him before he does more harm. Concluding, quote, "I stand with the many women who will no longer be silent." Wood, who is now 33, met Manson when she was only 18 and he was 36 back in 2007. They later got engaged in 2010 for 8 months until the relationship ended. The statement on Instagram came as 4 other women recently come forward with allegations against Manson. Manson has denied these allegations, but he has still been blacklisted until these legal matters are sorted out. The only person who has collaborated with him since the allegations was Kanye West. And finally, at number 1, Matt Damon. Matt Damon got cancelled after he revealed in an interview that he recently stopped using the F slur in conversation. He thought the media would praise him for the decision, but everyone was wondering what took him so long. During an interview, he shared a story about how his daughter urged him to stop using the F slur as it is homophobic. Apparently, he made a joke and his daughter got up from the table because she was so angry over his choice of words. Then after a talk, he decided to stop using the word. But that revelation instantly backfired, with people calling out the star for ever saying it in the first place. Damon then tried to clear the air and clarify that he never actually said the F slur. Damon said that he understood why his revelation, quote, "led many to assume the worst," but he added that he had never used the slur personally, that the conversation with his daughter was not a personal awakening. After this, tons of people decided to boycott his new movie, although most people have since forgotten about the scandal.
At number 10, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire star Jussie Smollett made headlines a little while back after faking an attack for attention. Jussie made a claim that he was attacked by a group of people as a hate crime, but after further investigation, it was discovered that the entire altercation was made up by the actor. As a result of the scandal that followed, Jussie was let go from Empire and has been hard-pressed to find work elsewhere. The reason why he made up this altercation was an attempt to get a pay raise from the producers of the show, as he was not happy with the salary that he was already making. Now, Hollywood executives know him as someone who will do some shady things to get what he wants, including filing a false police report and faking an assault just to get people to get him more attention. After the incident, Jussie started losing a lot of work and his career hasn't really picked up much since, with some sources saying that he might be blacklisted. At this rate, 2022 might be as challenging as 2021 was for the actor, and Hollywood might not have a place for him in the coming year. At number 9, Johnny Depp. Actor Johnny Depp has really been going through it lately. He went through a high-profile legal case, and a lot of information was exposed, but even after the legal battle against the Sun publication was over, he started losing work. First, he was asked to step down from his role as Grindelwald in the upcoming Fantastic Beasts film, and fans found out that he had been blacklisted from Disney as well because of the scandal that is still ongoing with Amber Heard. Now, even though many people are siding with and trying to defend Johnny, it doesn't seem to be making much effect in Hollywood. Fortunately, because of Johnny's image in the media at the moment, it doesn't look like he's going to book many roles in 2022. On top of that, he's still dealing with a lot of legal cases with Amber right now, so acting might not be his top priority at the moment. You might not see much from Johnny in 2022, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Before we carry on talking about some celebrities who might not find work next year, why not take some time to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne is no stranger to having a bad reputation in Hollywood. She's been facing backlash since she was a Disney star, and things have just escalated from there. Because she's viewed by many as problematic, Hollywood may be hesitant to hire her for upcoming projects because of how people view her. Just in the last little while, Bella has been in the news for a number of scandals. Last summer, Bella faced backlash for her OnlyFans scam, where she scammed her fans into paying upwards of $200 for content that they weren't happy with, and even prompted a company policy change that affected other creators on the platform. She was also involved in some Twitter beef with her ex Tana Mojo because she released a diss track about her. And not too long ago, Bella also faced even more backlash as she publicly defended Armie Hammer and the leaked DMs that exposed his bedroom fantasies. Bella just has a way of rubbing people the wrong way, and since she's faced so much backlash just in the last year alone, I feel like Hollywood is gonna pass on her for a little while, so she might not book much in 2022. At number 7, Hartley Sawyer. Hartley Sawyer is one actor who might never come back to Hollywood after he got exposed for his incredibly offensive tweets back in 2020. Hartley, who's best known for having played Ralph Dibny, aka the elongated man on the CW's The Flash, faced a heck of a lot of backlash when many of his past tweets were brought to light. These tweets, which span as far back as 2009, highlight Hartley's offensive attempt at humor, many of them including racist, sexist, homophobic, and even violent messages. These tweets were brought to light during the Black Lives Matter movement that saw a big jump in support last summer, and as fans dug deep into many celebrities' lives, this was one of the biggest stories of celebrity exposure to come out during that time. As a result of these offensive tweets, Hartley was fired from his role on The Flash and hasn't been seen on social media since issuing an apology for his actions. Because of the reputation he now has for being offensive, combined with the fact that he's been out of Hollywood for so long, I have a feeling that Hartley won't be back in the spotlight for a long time, so 2022 might not be his year to return. At number 6, Stacey Dash. Known for her role as Dion in the 90s film Clueless, Stacey Dash rose to fame in the 90s, but since then she's hit rock bottom and is no longer welcome in the entertainment industry. Nowadays, the actress is known for being quite outspoken when it comes to her political views, and this is what led Hollywood to lock her out, so to speak, and she hasn't been in the acting world for years. Speaking out about her take on women's rights, Black History Month, segregation, and the quote-unquote bathroom bill, the actress has proven herself to be too much for even the likes of Fox News, for which she used to be a part of. Stacey would often come on air on Fox News to talk about whatever issues were being discussed, but in a turn of events, Fox News let her go after having gone too far with her words, especially in reference to the abolishment of Black History Month. Some people have said that her extreme beliefs are what stopped Stacey from receiving any roles, and she's even said that she was dropped by her agent for being too problematic. Her views on gay and trans rights, as well as her opinion on race in Hollywood, have ultimately ended her career as an actress, so she definitely won't be welcomed back to Hollywood in 2022. At number 5, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is someone who is notoriously hated in Hollywood for quite a number of reasons. He's no longer considered for any Hollywood roles and hasn't been for a while, and he only seems to make an entrance into the industry when directing his own films since other studios don't want to work with him. He's been the subject of a number of controversies, from that of The Passion of the Christ for being anti-Semitic to career-damaging freakouts, driving under the influence, and a number of people coming forward to discuss Mel's racist and anti-Semitic views. Though he continues to be cancelled in Hollywood, he attempts to make a return every so often, but again, only through his own work. He's been facing controversy for decades, and no one has really forgiven him, so he remains banned from Hollywood and essentially banned from all other media networks. As the new year approaches, I'm sure we can all agree that Mel won't be booking anything in 2022. At number 4, James Franco. James Franco has slowly slowly been losing respect in Hollywood to the point where he's losing work and connections in the industry. Things started to go downhill for the actor back in 2014 when he got into a scandal after he tried sliding into a fan's DMs only to find out that she was actually 17 years old. James met a girl visiting New York City at an autograph signing outside of his Broadway show, and the two took pictures together and she tagged him, which obviously led to him finding her Instagram and DMing her. The two talked for a bit, and after their conversation continued, James asked for her number, her age, her relationship status, and whether or not he should have booked a hotel room for the both of them. Luckily, nothing ever ended up happening between them, but the fan ended up exposing their conversation online and James faced mild backlash. After that, people got a very different impression of the actor, and a lot of people started refusing to work with him as well. Because of his public image, he might not be seen in many productions in the new year. At number 3, Katherine Heigl. A lot of people don't like working with Katherine Heigl because of how rude she is. She's been known to be mean to people on set, have high demands, and just have a really bad attitude. She's known to be quite critical of the roles and material she's given, and she even brought this up when she withdrew from the Emmy nominations because she said that the material she was given for Grey's Anatomy didn't warrant an Emmy. That's certainly disrespectful to the writers, because for someone to say something like that implies that the writing wasn't good enough to please people, whereas the people at the Emmys thought it was worth the award. Katherine is also known to make ridiculously high salary demands, and apparently she's been doing this since before she became a big name in the industry. She's reportedly hired and fired a lot of publicists and assistants over the years, so she really sounds like quite the diva. Because of all this, directors and Hollywood execs don't want to work with her anymore because she's a nightmare to work with. People say that she's been blacklisted from Hollywood, so the chances of her booking anything substantial in 2022 are pretty slim. At number 2, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner has been having a rough time in Hollywood lately. He's pretty much disappeared from the media, and many think that the actor has been blacklisted from Hollywood because no one wants to hire him. Since finishing up his time in the Twilight Saga, Taylor hasn't really seen much success. After the franchise ended, Taylor went looking for work, and at first, people were ready to offer him some good Hollywood parts. He was still a big name in the industry after he got so much fame from playing his character Jacob Black in the Twilight movies, but soon Hollywood executives realized that he's just not the powerhouse that they were expecting. The first few movies that he starred in tanked at the box office, and between this and his high asking salary, no one was keen on taking a chance on the actor. In the years since, he's appeared on some TV shows like Scream Queens, but other than that, we haven't really heard much from him. He recently got engaged, so maybe he's just focusing on living a simple life for now, so maybe we won't see him come back to Hollywood in 2022. And finally, at number 1, Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made headlines this year after their interview with Oprah back in January. Since then, they've been in and out of the news, and a lot of people have wondered if Meghan will make her return to acting after leaving the royal family. She's already narrated a documentary about elephants that's on Disney+, but can we expect more from Meg? Well, the answer is maybe. Things might still be a little touchy with the actress and Hollywood because of all the drama surrounding her and the royal family, so we might not see much from her in Hollywood in 2022, but maybe sometime soon we will watch Meghan return to the spotlight once again. At number 10, Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer made headlines early this year as some DMs were leaked on social media, which showed Armie talking about his bedroom fantasies. Some of the things discussed in the messages were Armie's desire to eat someone, and some people, like ex-partners, have come forward with their personal accounts of Armie's fantasies. Because of this bombshell story, Armie has spent the last year losing work and watching his career fall to pieces. When the scandal first broke, he backed out of an upcoming film project alongside Jennifer Lopez in hopes to save his career, and he also dropped out of a series he was cast for Paramount+. Now he's out of work, and he won't be finding any more anytime soon, as he's also been dropped by his agent and his personal publicist. Hollywood will definitely not be casting Armie in any upcoming productions unless he is able to rebuild his image after the scandal, and even then, it'll take a lot of work to get back in Hollywood's good graces. At number 9, James Corden. This year, people learned that they not so secretly hate James Corden. The amount of times I saw James Corden trending on Twitter for people just talking about how much they hate him kind of says a lot about the actor and his place in Hollywood. The actor and late night host got in a lot of scandals this year, as I mentioned in one of our other videos, so another one in 2022 is probably a guarantee at this point, and that just means trouble for James's career. So far, James has faced backlash for his undermining of his employees at his late night show. He's faced backlash for the Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts segment, as well as he's been known to use traditional Asian foods as part of the gross foods category. On top of that, he's faced a lot of scrutiny for his Golden Globes nomination for his role in the movie Prom, where he played a gay character, because people thought that he used too many gay stereotypes in his performance. On top of that, a number of people who have worked with him or have had encounters with the host have made a lot of negative comments. About him, making him look like a pretty bad guy. The more bad press, the less people want to work with him, and because some fans have literally started making petitions to keep James out of certain big Hollywood productions, the executives might have to start listening to the fans and not hire James Corden. Before we carry on talking about the people Hollywood might not want to work with next year, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Gina Carano. Up next, we have another celebrity who has faced a lot of backlash this year for old Twitter posts. Known for her role on the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, actress Gina Carano began to face massive backlash for her social media posts that exposed her ideals and opinions that some people took offense to. Though there were a few posts that garnered a lot of negative attention, such as her comments on putting your pronouns in your social media bio, the one that was seemingly the last straw for her Disney career was a post that compared being a Republican to being a victim of the horrors of World War II, saying that Republicans are being persecuted because of their political beliefs. A lot of people took offense to this and led to more backlash and to her getting exposed for her unpopular opinions. Other posts that caused Gina to face scrutiny include her tweets about voter fraud in the US, as well as posts mocking people who wear masks amidst the pandemic. According to a source, the people behind the Mandalorian series had been looking for a reason to fire Gina because of her controversial social media presence, and so this exposure was allegedly the catalyst that led to them firing Gina from her role. Because of the nature of this scandal and the offensive things that were said, Gina might find it hard to find work in the new year if people still haven't forgiven or forgotten about her latest scandal. At number 7, Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake started facing a lot of backlash this year, with fans of Britney Spears flooding his social media pages and demanding that he apologize after the way he treated her in the media after their breakup in the early 2000s. The Framing Britney Spears documentary that was released looked into the way that the pop star was shown in the media, from the paparazzi to interviews, and it dives deep into how this stardom affected her. A big part of the documentary explores Justin Timberlake's role in the media's mistreatment of Britney after their public breakup in 2002. After their relationship ended, Justin made Britney look like the villain in the relationship, accusing her of cheating and essentially weaponizing their breakup to boost his own career. This prompted the media to put a lot of blame and shame on Britney, who really didn't deserve it. Now that fans in the media are revisiting Justin's actions, there are a number of people calling for accountability, and this could hurt his career. Because of all of the drama that Britney faced this year, and combined with people digging into her past, the fact that Justin played a role in the media's mistreatment of the pop star may hurt his career and might make it harder to find work in the new year. At number 6, Jamie Lynn Spears. Another person whose career may be damaged after this drama with Britney Spears is her sister Jamie Lynn Spears, who got caught up in the scandal that was her sister's conservatorship case. There was a lot of family drama involved, as you could imagine, and instead of laying low, she stepped into the spotlight, and doing that attracted a lot of hate towards her. Many of Britney's fans criticized Jamie for not standing up for her sister and watching her suffer through the conservatorship for so long. Things took such a nasty turn for Jamie that it's damaged her relationship with Britney, and now with the massive amount of support that Britney had garnered over the last few months, an enemy of Britney is an enemy for everyone. Britney's fans are watching her sister like a hawk, waiting for one wrong move in order to cancel her, and this bad press probably wouldn't make Hollywood executives want to hire her over fears of bad publicity. At number 5, Chris Pratt. It seems like Chris Pratt is having a hard time in the media lately. Chris has been making headlines recently because people want him to be canceled. First, back in 2020, people were upset with the actor because he didn't publicly support Joe Biden, and a lot of people also took to criticizing his Christian faith. Now, someone's faith is no reason to hate someone, I will say, that is just absurd, but it still had a lot of people going off at him. On top of that, just recently, Chris faced backlash after he posted about his wife Catherine Schwarzenegger and how she gave him a gorgeous, healthy daughter, end quote. This had people running to his ex Anna Faris to support her because fans believed that Chris's comment was a dig at the fact that their son Jack was born premature and had to spend time in the NICU before being allowed to go home after he was born. People called Chris out for his choice of words, and they're using this as further fuel to use against the actor. I feel like with this tension bubbling up, 2022 might be the year that Chris Pratt actually gets cancelled, and this might have a very big impact on his career. At number 4, Lea Michele. TV and Broadway actress Lea Michele was cancelled in 2020 after a bunch of people came forward to expose her for her awful on-set behavior, and apparently she still remains cancelled. Reports and accusations came out last summer detailing how she'd been known to disrespect people she's worked with in the past, and this all started at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, where one of Lea's former Glee co-stars, Samantha Ware, called Lea out on how the actress made her time on the show a quote, living hell. This ended up causing a chain reaction of other people coming forward to talk about their horror stories of working with the actress, with some revealing how she would disrespect and talk down to background actors on set, how she would delay production, and how she would refuse to talk to anyone face to face, and how she would even force them to speak with her assistant instead. Because of all this negative attention, Lea was cancelled, and as I mentioned before, that cancel status still sticks. Lea hasn't been able to bounce back from that drama that went down last year, so 2022 might be another rough year for the actress's career. At number 3, Chris D'Elia. Another celebrity who might have a hard time finding work in 2022 is actor and comedian Chris D'Elia. The comedian remains cancelled after he faced multiple allegations of misconduct and harassing girls online last year, and this whole scandal caused him to be essentially fired from Hollywood. After multiple women came forward to share their unpleasant experiences with the comedian, from unwanted advances to indecent exposure and gaslighting, Chris was caught and exposed for his actions, lost all support and credibility in the industry, and pretty much hit rock bottom. Though this scandal initially started last year, Chris is still facing more allegations in 2021, and a lawsuit was filed in early March accusing Chris of soliciting private photos from a young woman under the age of 18. Though this happened in 2014 when she was 17, she said that she was inspired by the other women who've come forward to tell her story and seek justice. Because he's been dropped by his talent agency and he's lost out on a Netflix special, it might be safe to say that he won't be working in Hollywood again anytime soon. At number 2, Ellen DeGeneres. Though many of us know Ellen DeGeneres as the famed talk show host, she is also an actress, having started her own comedy show as well as voicing Dory in Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. She certainly fits the criteria for this list, both for her work and for being cancelled. Last year, Ellen was exposed for creating a toxic work environment on The Ellen Show, and she was the recipient of a lot of negative attention and backlash in 2020. Rumors started circulating about Ellen not being as nice as she's portrayed as on TV, and soon former employees started coming forward with their own horror stories about Ellen and the work environment that they had to deal with. There were allegations of racial microaggressions, discrimination, and harassment on the part of Ellen as well as other higher-ups in the company. For months, Ellen was being exposed for her toxic behavior, and she faced a lot of flack for it, having to issue multiple apologies to make up for things. Stars who had been on The Ellen Show in the past came forward to talk about their experiences with the comedian, and many interviews were being picked apart by people online, digging up moments that show Ellen in a negative light. Basically, Ellen got exposed to the max and she lost credibility, her show tanked, and now it's ending. And because of all this, no one knows what the future holds for Ellen. And finally, at number 1, Shia LaBeouf. From what we've seen in the news over the years and from what we've heard from other celebrities, I think it's safe to say that Shia LaBeouf isn't doing too great in Hollywood right now. There are a lot of people who are still fans of the actor, but after hearing about his questionable and sometimes downright disrespectful actions, idolizing Shia probably isn't the greatest thing. He is someone who's faced a lot of allegations as of late. Last year, Shia faced allegations from his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs after she filed a lawsuit against him detailing some of the encounters that she had with him. Twigs alleged that he threatened to crash a car with her in it if she didn't profess her love for him, and claimed that he would sometimes grab her so hard that she would bruise. Even singer Sia came forward with her own allegations against the actor, saying that she too had been emotionally damaged by Shia. On top of that, he was fired by Olivia Wilde from the upcoming film Don't Worry Darling, due to his alleged bad behavior, as people have cited that Shia is, quote, not an easy guy to work with. because of all this bad press, I think it'll be tough for Shia to find work in Hollywood next year.
Starting off this countdown, we have her wickedness.
Pun intended.
So just recently, Ariana Grande let her followers know that she'll be starring in the upcoming Wicked movie with Tony-winning actor Cynthia Erivo, a role that Leah wanted to get. If you've seen Glee, then you know that Leah's character Rachel Berry even sang Defying Gravity from Wicked. In 2019, Leah said it would be incredible if she could be in Wicked. But that won't be happening, and people think it's because of Leah's own wicked behavior. She has been exposed by a number of her fellow acting colleagues. People have called her rude, terrifying, manipulative, and a nightmare, among other things. From 2006 to 2008, Leah starred in the Broadway musical Spring Awakening. Fellow cast member Marcus S. Daniels said that Michelle was, and I quote, abusive, rude, condescending, and at many times downright cruel. He continued on calling her out, saying, there was no excuse for your behavior. You have so much talent, but there is so much hate within your heart. Everyone who has worked with you carries those memories with them. So it seems like Leah is literally Rachel in real life. Moving on to number 9, we have the living hell. Earlier this year, during the Black Lives Matter movement, Leah tweeted out in support. She tweeted, and I quote, George Floyd did not deserve this. This was not an isolated incident and it must end. And then she used the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Well, Samantha Ware, former Glee cast member, responded to that tweet and called Leah out. In all caps, she tweeted, LMAO, remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would in my wig, amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood. That is insane. Another time, Leah didn't like how Samantha was acting on set and threatened to have her fired. Needless to say, she makes sets a living hell. In our 8th spot, we have being unpleasant. Another Glee co-star, Heather Morris, ended up tweeting out in support of Samantha, coming forward calling out Leah Michele. She said, and I quote, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Leah to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. Then, former RuPaul's Drag Race contestant Willem also came forward. Willem made an appearance on the 4th season of Glee. They said, and I quote, Leah treated me so subhuman I left the set of Glee, past the popcorn. Nobody wants to work in a toxic environment. Good for them for leaving. Coming in our 7th spot, we have being disrespectful. Leah Michele can officially add being disrespectful to her list of talents on her acting resume. One of her former co-stars and understudy for Spring Awakening tweeted out saying, you were nothing but a nightmare to me and fellow understudy cast members. You made us feel like we didn't belong there. I tried for years to be nice to you to no avail. Maybe actually apologize instead of placing the blame on how others perceive you. You'll probably just delete this though. He's not the only understudy to come forward though. Elizabeth Aldrich was Leah's understudy in Ragtime in 1998, and she said, and I quote, she was absolutely awful to me and the ensemble. She demeaned the crew and threatened to have people fired if she was in any displeased. I used to cry every night from the mean and manipulative things she would do. She was 12. She was terrifying. Dude, she was only 12 and already had an attitude problem? And if sets condone this behavior, then she thinks that she can continue to get away with it, so she won't change her ways at all. In our 6th spot today, we have the dictator. Leah Michele believes the world revolves around her. I'm sure you can tell that by now. When on set, she thinks that she has the power to dictate what goes on. For example, if someone gets on her nerves, Leah will apparently try to get them fired. Well, another person that exposed Leah would be actor Dabier Snell. He appeared on one episode of Glee in 2014. He tweeted saying, girl, you wouldn't let me sit at the table with the other cast members cause I didn't belong there. F you, Leah. Yikes. Okay, but Leah, that's not a very welcoming thing to do. She's literally just a big bully. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the racism. A number of cast members of color have come forward saying they felt that Leah's hate towards them was racially motivated. Then 30 Rock actor Keith Powell came forward and said, and I quote, Leah Michele is a terrible human and has said terrible things to many different types of people, including racist microaggressions to/about black people, which is seemingly why Samantha was so ticked off about Leah's tweet about George Floyd. She's not practicing what she's been preaching. After word got out about Leah's behavior, HelloFresh dropped her from their partnership. They said that they do not condone racism nor discrimination of any kind, nor should anyone.
In our fourth spot, we have the drama. On a number of sets, Leah has been known to try and star drama. On Glee, Leah tried to star drama with Naya Riviera. In an interview, she revealed, and I quote, "Leah and I were like two sides of the same battery. We are both strong-willed and competitive, not just with each other, but with everyone, and that's not a good mixture." As the show progressed, especially as Santana moved from a background character to one with bigger plot lines and more screen time, I think Leah, didn't like sharing the spotlight. It seemed like she blamed me for anything and everything that went wrong. If I'd complain about anyone or anything, she'd assume I was bitching about her. Soon, she started to ignore me, and eventually it got to the point where she didn't say a word to me for all of season 6. Wow, that's tough. In our third spot today, we have the attitude problem. Another one of Leah's former Glee colleagues, Chase Edmondson, outed Leah for a terrible interaction he had with her. So Chase worked in the production department for season 3 and 4 of Glee. According to him, he said, "My strongest memory of you was storming out of the Glee classroom set yelling, 'Does anyone have gum?' I was standing about 10 feet from you with gum already in hand. When I said, 'I do,' offering it to you, you just looked at me and said, 'Ew,' before walking off to Crafty on the next stage." I have no clue how she can just treat her colleagues with such disrespect. Come on now. In our second spot, we have the background actors. Seems like everyone that worked with Leah Michele has been victimized by her, including the background performers. Mia Edwards was a background actor for season 6 of Glee. According to her, Leah made them feel as if they were nothing, and often referred to the background actors as cockroaches. Like, what? And if any background actors looked at Leah, she'd be like, "Ugh, don't look at me, don't make eye contact, ugh, you cockroaches." That's not all though. According to her, while prepping for a scene on set, Leah, and I quote, "walked by me and burped in my face. This loud burp. Directly, almost face to face. It wasn't even like, oh, she wouldn't have known. She knew she burped in my face." 2 other people saw it and an operator said, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry she did that." I was just like, yeah, whatever, you're on set trying to be professional, you're not trying to make a huge deal about things. After the second or third take, she walked by me and stepped on my foot really hard. You know when you bump into someone, you can feel it. Again, nothing, no reaction, like I wasn't even there. It made me feel like I was nothing. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the look-alike. So back in September of 2009, a number of actors were hired to work as lookalikes at a Glee premiere party. These lookalikes had to resemble the show's characters and they would perform at the party. So this one girl was hired as the Rachel Berry lookalike. And listen what she had to say. She said, and I quote, "I didn't know my character was the lead, let alone who played her. When the actors arrived at the event and found out there were lookalikes of them, Leah came searching for me. When she saw me, she said, 'Oh my god, could they have picked someone uglier?' Corey Monteith saw the look on my face and said, 'Don't listen to her, she's just jealous, you're beautiful.' I never forgot that."
At number 10, Chris D'Elia. Comedian Chris D'Elia isn't looking too favorable in Hollywood's eyes following the allegations against him. Reports came out last year detailing a number of encounters that Chris had with girls under the age of 18. When these encounters came to light, as a result, backlash and scandal ensued, which resulted in Chris losing a lot of work. First, Chris's comedy show on Netflix was cancelled, and an episode of the Hulu show Workaholics that featured Chris as an inappropriate character was also pulled from the streaming service. What has probably hurt his career most, however, is being dropped by his agency. Reports came out that Chris was no longer being represented by the Creative Arts Agency, and he's also been dropped by his manager, 3 Arts Entertainment, and his comedy booking agent as well. Now, even if Chris were able to get someone to represent him in the industry, the fact that he's already been dropped by Netflix once leads you to believe that they probably wouldn't be open to working with him again in the future. So I think it's safe to say that your career is pretty much in the can. At number 9, Shia LaBeouf. Late last year, actor Shia LaBeouf faced severe allegations after his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs filed a lawsuit against him detailing some of the encounters that she had with him. Twigs alleged that he threatened to crash a car with her in it if she didn't profess her love for him, and claimed that he would sometimes grab her so hard that she would bruise. Even singer Sia came forward with her own allegations against the actor, saying that she too had been emotionally hurt by Shia after he tricked her into an adulterous relationship. Now on top of that, we've learned that Shia has also been losing work because of his bad attitude after allegedly being fired by Olivia Wilde from the film Don't Worry Darling. It was announced in late fall last year that Harry Styles was going to be replacing Shia in the film, and now we know that it was due to his alleged bad behavior, as people cited that Shia is, quote, not an easy guy to work with. And with all of this bad press piled up against him, as well as his bad reputation for being hard to work with, I'm sure that Netflix would not want to work with this actor. Now before I carry on with our list, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, maybe hit that subscribe button as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Armie Hammer. 2021 started off with an absolutely huge Hollywood scandal. The first big entertainment news story of the year followed the downfall of actor Armie Hammer after a series of DMs were leaked that exposed his life behind closed doors. An Instagram account exposed Armie after they posted dozens of screenshots that showed the actor's conversations with various women between 2016 and 2020. The messages show Armie talking about his bedroom fantasies, including fantasies of consensual non-consent and eating his partner. As a result of this scandal, Armie's career took a serious nosedive. When the scandal first broke, Armie withdrew from an upcoming film that he was supposed to star in alongside Jennifer Lopez, and he was also dropped from the cast of an upcoming Paramount Plus project about the making of The Godfather. Armie has also been dropped by his agency and his publicist as well. Because of the aftermath of this scandal and the investigations that this led to, I don't think anybody, never mind just Netflix, would be wanting to work with this actor. It will be very difficult for him to come back from all of this. At number 7, Gina Carano. Disney was hit with a minor scandal this year, and it involved one of their newer stars, Gina Carano. Known for her role in the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, Gina became a fan favorite very quickly, that is until her tweets became an issue. This whole scandal came about after Gina tweeted a controversial message saying that being a Republican was similar to being Jewish during World War II, implying that Republicans are being persecuted in a way because of their political beliefs. This tweet angered a lot of fans, but it's not the first time that the actress had made headlines concerning her offensive tweets. She's also made anti-mask posts, and she's tweeted about the suspected voter fraud during the US presidential election. The people behind the making of The Mandalorian made the decision to fire Gina as a result, and her career was pretty much tanked. Her tweets caused her to lose a job working for one of the biggest companies in the industry, and this could affect her success in getting work from other big companies like Netflix. At number 6, Hartley Sawyer. Hartley Sawyer is one actor who might never come back to Hollywood after he got exposed for his incredibly offensive tweets back in 2020. Hartley, who was best known for having played Ralph Dibny, aka the elongated man on the CW's The Flash, faced a heck of a lot of backlash when many of his past tweets were brought to light. These tweets, which span as far back as 2009, highlight Hartley's poor attempts at humor, many of them including racist, sexist, homophobic, and even violent messages. These tweets were brought to light during the Black Lives Matter movement that saw a huge jump in support last summer, and as fans dug deep into many celebrities' lives, this was one of the biggest stories of a celebrity exposure to come out during that time. As a result of these offensive tweets, Hartley was fired from his role on The Flash and has been MIA from social media since issuing an apology for his actions. Because of the reputation that he has now for being offensive, combined with the fact that he's been out of Hollywood for so long, it might be safe to assume that if he does make a comeback to the industry, he probably won't be hired by anyone like Netflix. At number 5, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was exposed last year for her bad attitude, and she hasn't made a comeback since. Former Glee star Samantha Ware called the actress out for her rudeness, among other negative things, and this brought on a wave of other accusations. People started coming forward to talk about their experiences working with Lea, and some recounted some instances of bullying, aggressiveness, and diva behavior. As a result, Lea lost her sponsorship with HelloFresh. In response to the allegations made against Lea, specifically for her alleged racial microaggressions and discriminatory actions, the company issued a statement saying that they would no longer be affiliated with the actress. This was just the first instance of Lea losing work over the scandal, but because there were so many horror stories that came out about her last year, producers as well as other people in the industry might now be a little hesitant to work with her because she's gained such a public reputation of being hard to work with. Since we haven't heard much from her since getting cancelled last year, we can assume that she hasn't really found much work since then, and certainly not from big companies like Netflix, because they wouldn't want to take a chance on someone who people are still kind of upset with. At number 4, Lori Loughlin. Actress Lori Loughlin has been fired by Netflix once before, so the chances of them wanting to work with her again are pretty slim. The actress faced a lot of drama last year as she was put on trial for exchanging bribes with college admissions in order to get her daughter into a good school. After pleading guilty to the charges against her, she was sent to jail to serve a 2-month sentence. Now that she's been released, she'll she'll be hard-pressed to find work in the industry. Since the admission scandal, she's lost work, and as I mentioned, she's been dropped from the Full House reboot on Netflix, and some sources say that she's even been blacklisted from Hollywood. Whether or not this blacklisting really stands is yet to be known, but the bottom line here is that no one wants to hire her right now, especially Netflix. Being fresh out of the scandal, as she was released from jail in late December, it'll be a while before she can start finding work again. At number 3, Thora Birch. Thora Birch was once a rising star in Hollywood. From starring in Hocus Pocus to American Beauty, she was finding a lot of success in the industry, but due to a number of reported conflicts with several Hollywood executives, Thora hasn't really been finding the same level of success that she once was. Some say that she's even been blacklisted from Hollywood. Thora isn't solely to blame for her career troubles though, as it's believed that much of this has to do with Thora's father and the conflicts that he's been involved in, and had physically threatened other actors. Thora was also fired from her project Manson Girls after her father allegedly got into an argument with production. Between 2010 and 2018, Thora reportedly only booked one gig, and the actress has said that much of that has to do with her bad rep in the industry. She's also said that she's angered a lot of people over the years, so that could also be a reason why she's been fired from Hollywood. She isn't finding any work from big companies like Netflix, and probably won't for the foreseeable future. At number 2, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire actor Jussie Smollett found himself in a lot of trouble for a while following the scandal and subsequent backlash he faced after he was caught making false police statements about alleged hate crimes. In January 2019, Jussie claimed to have been attacked by a group of people wearing masks who put a rope around his neck and shouted an array of slurs at him. However, after a police investigation ensued, they found that the claim was fake. It was later discovered that Jussie made the whole thing up because he was unhappy with his salary from Empire and figured that he could get more after an event like the one that he fabricated. The charges laid against him for making this false report were eventually dropped, but similar charges emerged this year and Jussie was indicted. As a result of the scandal and legal issues, Jussie was promptly fired from Empire and has struggled to make things work for him in the industry since then. Some people wanted him to be blacklisted for what happened. Since then, Jussie hasn't really found much success after the scandal, and no one is really out here trying to take a chance on him over fears that he might pull a similar stunt on them, so networks like Paramount or Netflix aren't really out here trying to work with him. And finally, at number 1, Zooey Deschanel. Even though Zooey Deschanel is known to play fun, bubbly, and happy characters on TV and in films, her real-life personality is apparently far from nice. Turns out Zooey is actually pretty mean in real life, and she's hard to work with on set. People who have worked with the actress have said that she's got a really bad attitude on set, saying that she acts very stuck up and has a big ego. Others have said that she makes large demands, throws unnecessary tantrums about literally anything, and has a reputation for delaying shoots, but won't hesitate to go off on anyone else who makes demands or delays shoots. Basically, she's got a really bad attitude, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people think that she just doesn't get cast anymore, because nobody wants to work with her. At number 10, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr had a pretty good thing going up until 2018. Prior to then, Roseanne was finding a lot of success in the Roseanne sitcom reboot on ABC and was getting ready to usher in a new season. But all of that success and hard work went out the window after the actress tweeted out an offensive tweet about Barack Obama's former senior advisor Valerie Jarrett, comparing her to an ape. As a result, Roseanne felt the wrath of Hollywood and had her show and career cancelled. Though she deleted the tweet and issued an apology for her actions, this couldn't save her career, and she's since been reportedly blacklisted from Hollywood, so networks like Netflix probably wouldn't be too jazzed about working with her. The actress tried defending her actions by claiming that she thought Valerie Jarrett was white, but that excuse didn't really go over well, and made things a little bit worse for her instead. Roseanne has also gone on to say in interviews that Hollywood shunned her because of her political beliefs. At number 9, Stacey Dash. Known for her role as Dion in the 90s film Clueless, Stacey Dash had risen to fame in the 90s, but since then she's hit rock bottom and is no longer welcome in the entertainment industry. Nowadays, the actress is known for being quite outspoken when it comes to her political views, and this is what led Hollywood to lock her out, so to speak, and she hasn't been in the acting world for quite a while. Speaking out about her take on women's rights, Black History Month, segregation, and the quote-unquote bathroom bill, the actress has proven herself to be too much for even the likes of Fox News, which she used to be a part of. With that said, she probably wouldn't be welcomed by the likes of Netflix. Stacey would often come on air of Fox News to talk about whatever issues were being discussed, but in a turn of events, Fox News let her go for having gone too far with her words, especially in reference to the abolishment of Black History Month. Some people say that her extreme beliefs are what stopped Stacey from receiving any roles, and she said that she was dropped by her agent for being too problematic. Her views on gay and trans rights, as well as her opinion on race in Hollywood, have ultimately ended her career as an actress. Now, before we continue talking about celebrities who Netflix would not want to work with, why not leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Jim Caviezel. It's not always tweets and fights that get you banned from Hollywood. The roles you play and the productions that you're part of can also take a toll on your career, and this is what happened with actor Jim Caviezel, prompting Hollywood to shut him out as a result. Coming from some minor success in the 90s, Jim's defining moment came when he played Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ film. The movie itself was a financial success, but the media tore it apart, calling it too violent and very controversial. The R-rated film caught a lot of bad press, and it was seen as anti-Semitic, and those who worked on the film had a hard time shaking that label, especially Jim. Apparently, before filming began, Mel Gibson warned Jim that he could potentially get shunned from Hollywood for this film, but he went ahead anyway, which, looking back on it now, probably wasn't the best career choice. Jim says that he has no regrets starring in the film, but he's no longer welcome in Hollywood, and as a result probably wouldn't be hired by anyone like Netflix. At number 7, Mel Gibson. Speaking of the Passion of the Christ though, Mel Gibson is someone who is notoriously hated in Hollywood for quite a number of reasons. He's no longer considered for any Hollywood roles and only seems to make an entrance into the industry when directing, since other studios don't want to work with him. He's been the subject of a number of controversies, from that of the Passions of the Christ for being anti-Semitic, to career-damaging freakouts, driving under the influence, and a number of people coming forward to discuss Mel's racist and anti-Semitic views. Though he continues to get cancelled in Hollywood, he attempts to make a return every so often, but again, only through his own work. He's been facing controversy for decades, and no one has really forgiven him, and he remains banned in Hollywood and essentially banned from all other media networks. At number 6, Ellen. After the insane year Ellen had last year, she came out of it with a pretty tarnished reputation. Because of the allegations made against her of poor workplace environment, including bullying and racial microaggressions, very few people trust or even want to work with her anymore, and I would imagine that also includes companies like Netflix. Though she did issue some apologies for some of her actions, it didn't seem to be enough, and her actions have left a bad taste. As a result of the scandal that unfolded, Ellen lost sponsors, guests, and audience members from her own show. This pretty much shows that the industry is starting to pull away from her because no one really wants to get close to her. If she was in better standings in the industry, she could have struck a deal with Netflix to keep her career afloat, but it doesn't look like that would happen. At number 5, Marilyn Manson. Singer Marilyn Manson faced a humongous scandal this year after actress Evan Rachel Wood came forward in February this year, naming Manson as the person who caused her mental, physical, and emotional distress while in a relationship. She released a statement to her Instagram calling Manson out and also saying that she was, quote, brainwashed and manipulated into submission by him. In the past, Manson has faced similar accusations, but this one from Evan was the one to end his career. As a result of this, the singer was dropped by his manager and record label, and they were also called out for having enabled him the whole time this abuse was going on, and for trying to cover these scandals up in the past. Because of all this bad press and his severely tarnished reputation, I couldn't imagine anyone in Hollywood wanting to work with him. Lately, Netflix has been doing documentaries on singers and their lives, but Manson is certainly one star that they would not want to talk about. At number 4, Chris Harrison. The Bachelor/Bachelorette is one of the hottest reality shows on the planet. The show's host, Chris Harrison, has been with the show since 2002, but his time with Bachelor Nation has come to an end after a scandal that completely ended his hosting career. After old photos resurfaced of one of the Bachelor contestants at an antebellum-themed sorority party, as well as Confederate TikToks, there was a call to seek accountability from said contestant. When asked about it in an interview, Chris went on to seemingly defend this contestant when he said, quote, "We all need to have a little grace, a little understanding, a little compassion. Because I've seen some stuff online, this judge, jury, executioner thing, I haven't heard Rachel speak on this yet. Until I actually hear this woman have a chance to speak, who am I to say any of this?" End quote. People found his comments to be offensive and insensitive, saying that he was too quick to defend this contestant's actions. After all this drama, it was announced that he was leaving the show, and he's not been welcomed back. Maybe if things were different, Chris could have found a job working as a host for one of Netflix's many dating reality shows, but instead this scandal ruined his chances. At number 3, James Franco. Back in 2014, actor James Franco got into a scandal after he tried sliding into a fan's DMs, only to find out that she was actually 17 years old. This happened when James met a girl scandal, visiting New York City as an early 18th birthday present. James met her at an autograph signing outside of one of his Broadway shows. The two took pictures together and she tagged him, which obviously led to him finding her Instagram and DMing her. The two talked for a bit and the fan even asked to see his ID to make sure it was really him. After their conversation continued, James asked for her number, her age, her relationship status, and whether or not he should have booked a hotel room for the both of them. Luckily, nothing ever ended up happening between them, but the fan ended up exposing their conversation online, and James faced mild backlash. After that and some other scandals he's been in, a lot of people don't want to work with James, and that could potentially include companies like Netflix as well. At number 2, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne is no stranger to bad press. She's been facing backlash since she was a Disney star, and really things have just escalated since then. Because she's viewed by many as a problematic celebrity, Hollywood, specifically companies like Netflix, may be hesitant to hire her for upcoming projects just because of how people view her. In the last year or so, Bella has been in the news for a number of scandals. Bella has faced backlash for her OnlyFans scam, where she scammed her fans into paying upwards of $200 for content that they weren't happy with, and it even prompted a company policy change that affected other creators on the platform. She was also involved in some Twitter beef with her ex Tana Mojo because she released a diss track about her, and earlier this year, Bella faced even more backlash as she publicly defended Armie Hammer and the whole scandal that the actor was caught in. Bella has a way of rubbing people the wrong way, and since she's faced so much backlash just in the last year alone, I feel like Netflix might pass her over for a little while. And finally, at number 1, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks is actually a lot more controversial than you might think. Not too long ago, she faced backlash for her time on America's Next Top Model. Old photos and episodes re-emerged, which showed the types of photos that contestants were forced to take, including ones with the models in blackface. This made people take another look at the show's past, and it dug up more dirt on the way that Tyra used to treat her contestants as well. For a long time after the show, past contestants have been outspoken about the way that they were treated on the show and how their narratives were spun to make them look more susceptible to hate. Not too long ago, one of the models from Cycle 6, Lisa D'Amato, called Tyra out for how she used her past traumas against her and how she endured verbal, mental, and physical turmoil while working with Tyra. Now that all this has come out about her past, Hollywood might be staying away from Tyra, and her latest gig of hosting Dancing with the Stars might be all she's got to hold on to now that the world knows about what she's like behind the scenes, and since no one else will work with her. Maybe she could have started another fashion-related show on Netflix, but because of her reputation, the network probably would have passed on that. At number 10, Chris D'Elia. Comedian Chris D'Elia isn't looking too favorable in Hollywood's eyes following the allegations against him. Reports came out last year detailing a number of encounters that Chris had with girls under the age of 18. When these encounters came to light, as a result, backlash and scandal ensued, which resulted in Chris losing a lot of work. First, Chris's comedy show on Netflix was cancelled, and an episode of the Hulu show Workaholics that featured Chris as an inappropriate character was also pulled from the streaming service. What has probably hurt his career most, however, is being dropped by his agency. Reports came out that Chris was no longer being represented by the Creative Arts Agency, and he's also been dropped by his manager, 3 Arts Entertainment, and his comedy booking agent as well. Now, even if Chris were able to get someone to represent him in the industry, the fact that he's already been dropped by Netflix once leads you to believe that they probably wouldn't be open to working with him again in the future. So I think it's safe to say that your career is pretty much in the can. At number 9, Shia LaBeouf. Late last year, actor Shia LaBeouf faced severe allegations after his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs filed a lawsuit against him detailing some of the encounters that she had with him. Twigs alleged that he threatened to crash a car with her in it if she didn't profess her love for him, and claimed that he would sometimes grab her so hard that she would bruise. Even singer Sia came forward with her own allegations against the actor, saying that she too had been emotionally hurt by Shia after he tricked her into an adulterous relationship. Now on top of that, we've learned that Shia has also been losing work because of his bad attitude after allegedly being fired by Olivia Wilde from the film Don't Worry Darling. It was announced in late fall last year that Harry Styles was going to be replacing Shia in the film, and now we know that it was due to his alleged bad behavior, as people cited that Shia is, quote, not an easy guy to work with. With all of this bad press piled up against him, as well as his bad reputation for being hard to work with, I'm sure that Netflix would not want to work with this actor. Now before I carry on with our list, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, maybe hit that subscribe button as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Armie Hammer. 2021 started off with an absolutely huge Hollywood scandal. The first big entertainment news story of the year followed the downfall of actor Armie Hammer after a series of DMs were leaked that exposed his life behind closed doors. An Instagram account exposed Armie after they posted dozens of screenshots that showed the actor's conversations with various women between 2016 and 2020. The messages show Armie talking about his bedroom fantasies, including fantasies of consensual non-consent and eating his partner. As a result of this scandal, Armie's career took a serious nosedive. When the scandal first broke, Armie withdrew from an upcoming film that he was supposed to star in alongside Jennifer Lopez, and he was also dropped from the cast of an upcoming Paramount Plus project about the making of The Godfather. Armie has also been dropped by his agency and his publicist as well. Because of the aftermath of this scandal and the investigations that this led to, I don't think anybody, never mind just Netflix, would be wanting to work with this actor. It will be very difficult for him to come back from all of this. At number 7, Gina Carano. Disney was hit with a minor scandal this year, and it involved one of their newer stars, Gina Carano. Known for her role in the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, Gina became a fan favorite very quickly, that is until her tweets became an issue. This whole scandal came about after Gina tweeted a controversial message saying that being a Republican was similar to being Jewish during World War II, implying that Republicans are being persecuted in a way because of their political beliefs. This tweet angered a lot of fans, but it's not the first time that the actress had made headlines concerning her offensive tweets. She's also made anti-mask posts, and she's tweeted about the suspected voter fraud during the US presidential election. The people behind the making of The Mandalorian made the decision to fire Gina as a result, and her career was pretty much tanked. Her tweets caused her to lose a job working for one of the biggest companies in the industry, and this could affect her success in getting work from other big companies like Netflix. At number 6, Hartley Sawyer. Hartley Sawyer is one actor who might never come back to Hollywood after he got exposed for his incredibly offensive tweets back in 2020. Hartley, who was best known for having played Ralph Dibny, aka the elongated man on the CW's The Flash, faced a heck of a lot of backlash when many of his past tweets were brought to light. These tweets, which span as far back as 2009, highlight Hartley's poor attempts at humor, many of them including racist, sexist, homophobic, and even violent messages. These tweets were brought to light during the Black Lives Matter movement that saw a huge jump in support last summer, and as fans dug deep into many celebrities' lives, this was one of the biggest stories of a celebrity exposure to come out during that time. As a result of these offensive tweets, Hartley was fired from his role on The Flash and has been MIA from social media since issuing an apology for his actions. Because of the reputation that he has now for being offensive, combined with the fact that he's been out of Hollywood for so long, it might be safe to assume that if he does make a comeback to the industry, he probably won't be hired by anyone like Netflix. At number 5, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was exposed last year for her bad attitude, and she hasn't made a comeback since. Former Glee star Samantha Ware called the actress out for her rudeness among other negative things, and this brought on a wave of other accusations. People started coming forward to talk about their experiences working with Lea, and some recounted some instances of bullying, aggressiveness, and diva behavior. As a result, Lea lost her sponsorship with HelloFresh. In response to the allegations made against Lea, specifically for her alleged racial microaggressions and discriminatory actions, the company issued a statement saying that they would no longer be affiliated with the actress. This was just the first instance of Lea losing work over the scandal, but because there were so many horror stories that came out about her last year, producers as well as other people in the industry might now be a little hesitant to work with her because she's gained such a public reputation of being hard to work with. Since we haven't heard much from her since getting cancelled last year, we can assume that she hasn't really found much work since then, and certainly not from big companies like Netflix, because they wouldn't want to take a chance on someone who people are still kind of upset with. At number 4, Lori Loughlin. Actress Lori Loughlin has been fired by Netflix once before, so the chances of them wanting to work with her again are pretty slim. The actress faced a lot of drama last year as she was put on trial for exchanging bribes with college admissions in order to get her daughter into a good school. After pleading guilty to the charges against her, she was sent to jail to serve a 2-month sentence. Now that she's been released, she'll be hard-pressed to find work in the industry. Since the admission scandal, she's lost work, and as I mentioned, she's been dropped from the Full House reboot on Netflix, and some sources say that she's even been blacklisted from Hollywood. Whether or not this blacklisting really stands is yet to be known, but the bottom line here is that no one wants to hire her right now, especially Netflix. Being fresh out of the scandal, as she was released from jail in late December, it'll be a while before she can start finding work again. At number 3, Thora Birch. Thora Birch was once a rising star in Hollywood. From starring in Hocus Pocus to American Beauty, she was finding a lot of success in the industry, but due to a number of reported conflicts with several Hollywood executives, Thora hasn't really been finding the same level of success that she once was. Some say that she's even been blacklisted from Hollywood. Thora isn't solely to blame for her career troubles though, as it's believed that much of this has to do with Thora's father and the conflicts that he's been involved in, and had physically threatened other actors. Thora was also fired from her project Manson Girls after her father allegedly got into an argument with production. Between 2010 and 2018, Thora reportedly only booked one gig, and the actress has said that much of that has to do with her bad rep in the industry. She's also said that she's angered a lot of people over the years, so that could also be a reason why she's been fired from Hollywood. She isn't finding any work from big companies like Netflix, and probably won't for the foreseeable future. At number 2, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire actor Jussie Smollett found himself in a lot of trouble for a while following the scandal and subsequent backlash he faced after he was caught making false police statements about alleged hate crimes. In January 2019, Jussie claimed to have been attacked by a group of people wearing masks who put a rope around his neck and shouted an array of slurs at him. However, after a police investigation ensued, they found that the claim was fake. It was later discovered that Jussie made the whole thing up because he was unhappy with his salary from Empire and figured that he could get more after an event like the one that he fabricated. The charges laid against him for making this false report were eventually dropped, but similar charges emerged this year and Jussie was indicted. As a result of the scandal and legal issues, Jussie was promptly fired from Empire and has struggled to make things work for him in the industry since then. Some people wanted him to be blacklisted for what happened. Since then, Jussie hasn't really found much success after the scandal, and no one is really out here trying to take a chance on him over fears that he might pull a similar stunt on them, so networks like Paramount or Netflix aren't really out here trying to work with him. And finally, at number 1, Zooey Deschanel. Even though Zooey Deschanel is known to play fun, bubbly, and happy characters on TV and in films, her real-life personality is apparently far from nice. Turns out Zooey is actually pretty mean in real life, and she's hard to work with on set. People who have worked with the actress have said that she's got a really bad attitude on set, saying that she acts very stuck up and has a big ego. Others have said that she makes large demands, throws unnecessary tantrums about literally anything, and has a reputation for delaying shoots, but won't hesitate to go off on anyone else who makes demands or delays shoots. Basically, she's got a really bad attitude, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people think that she just doesn't get cast anymore, because nobody wants to work with her. This could be a reason why networks like Netflix don't want to hire her, because they don't want to have the hassle of dealing with a celebrity who's notoriously hard to work with. At number 10, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr had a pretty good thing going up until 2018. Prior to then, Roseanne was finding a lot of success in the Roseanne sitcom reboot on ABC and was getting ready to usher in a new season. But all of that success and hard work went out the window after the actress tweeted out an offensive tweet about Barack Obama's former senior advisor Valerie Jarrett, comparing her to an ape. As a result, Roseanne felt the wrath of Hollywood and had her show and career cancelled. Though she deleted the tweet and issued an apology for her actions, this couldn't save her career, and she's since been reportedly blacklisted from Hollywood, so networks like Netflix probably wouldn't be too jazzed about working with her. The actress tried defending her actions by claiming that she thought Valerie Jarrett was white, but that excuse didn't really go over well, and made things a little bit worse for her instead. Roseanne has also gone on to say in interviews that Hollywood shunned her because of her political beliefs. At number 9, Stacey Dash. Known for her role as Dion in the 90s film Clueless, Stacey Dash had risen to fame in the 90s, but since then she's hit rock bottom and is no longer welcome in the entertainment industry. Nowadays, the actress is known for being quite outspoken when it comes to her political views, and this is what led Hollywood to lock her out, so to speak, and she hasn't been in the acting world for quite a while. Speaking out about her take on women's rights, Black History Month, segregation, and the quote-unquote bathroom bill, the actress has proven herself to be too much for even the likes of Fox News, which she used to be a part of. With that said, she probably wouldn't be welcomed by the likes of Netflix. Stacey would often come on air of Fox News to talk about whatever issues were being discussed, but in a turn of events, Fox News let her go for having gone too far with her words, especially in reference to the abolishment of Black History Month. Some people say that her extreme beliefs are what stopped Stacey from receiving any roles, and she said that she was dropped by her agent for being too problematic. Her views on gay and trans rights as well as her opinion on race in Hollywood have ultimately ended her career as an actress. Now before we continue talking about celebrities who Netflix would not want to work with, why not leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Jim Caviezel. It's not always tweets and fights that get you banned from Hollywood. The roles you play and the productions that you're part of can also take a toll on your career, and this is what happened with actor Jim Caviezel, prompting Hollywood to shut him out as a result. Coming from some minor success in the 90s, Jim's defining moment came when he played Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ film. The movie itself was a financial success, but the media tore it apart, calling it too violent and very controversial. The R-rated film caught a lot of bad press and it was seen as anti-Semitic, and those who worked on the film had a hard time shaking that label, especially Jim. Apparently, before filming began, Mel Gibson warned Jim that he could potentially get shunned from Hollywood for this film, but he went ahead anyway, which looking back on it now probably wasn't the best career choice. Jim says that he has no regrets starring in the film, but he's no longer welcome in Hollywood, and as a result probably wouldn't be hired by anyone like Netflix. At number 7, Mel Gibson. Speaking of the Passion of the Christ though, Mel Gibson is someone who is notoriously hated in Hollywood for quite a number of reasons. He's no longer considered for any Hollywood roles and only seems to make an entrance into the industry when directing, since other studios don't want to work with him. He's been the subject of a number of controversies, from that of the Passions of the Christ for being anti-Semitic, to career-damaging freakouts, driving under the influence, and a number of people coming forward to discuss Mel's racist and anti-Semitic views. Though he continues to get cancelled in Hollywood, he attempts to make a return every so often, but again, only through his own work. He's been facing controversy for decades, and no one has really forgiven him, and he remains banned in Hollywood and essentially banned from all other media networks. At number 6, Ellen. After the insane year Ellen had last year, she came out of it with a pretty tarnished reputation. Because of the allegations made against her of poor workplace environment, including bullying and racial microaggressions, very few people trust or even want to work with her anymore, and I would imagine that also includes companies like Netflix. Though she did issue some apologies for some of her actions, it didn't seem to be enough, and her actions have left a bad taste. As a result of the scandal that unfolded, Ellen lost sponsors, guests, and audience members from her own show. This pretty much shows that the industry is starting to pull away from her because no one really wants to get close to her. If she was in better standings in the industry, she could have struck a deal with Netflix to keep her career afloat, but it doesn't look like that would happen. At number 5, Marilyn Manson. Singer Marilyn Manson faced a humongous scandal this year after actress Evan Rachel Wood came forward in February this year, naming Manson as the person who caused her mental, physical, and emotional distress while in a relationship. She released a statement to her Instagram calling Manson out and also saying that she was, quote, brainwashed and manipulated into submission by him. In the past, Manson has faced similar accusations, but this one from Evan was the one to end his career. As a result of this, the singer was dropped by his manager and record label, and they were also called out for having enabled him the whole time this abuse was going on, and for trying to cover these scandals up in the past. Because of all this bad press and his severely tarnished reputation, I couldn't imagine anyone in Hollywood wanting to work with him. Lately, Netflix has been doing documentaries on singers and their lives, but Manson is certainly one star that they would not want to talk about. At number 4, Chris Harrison. The Bachelor/Bachelorette is one of the hottest reality shows on the planet. The show's host, Chris Harrison, has been with the show since 2002, but his time with Bachelor Nation has come to an end after a scandal that completely ended his hosting career. After old photos resurfaced of one of the Bachelor contestants at an antebellum-themed sorority party, as well as Confederate TikToks, there was a call to seek accountability from said contestant. When asked about it in an interview, Chris went on to seemingly defend this contestant when he said, quote, "We all need to have a little grace, a little understanding, a little compassion. Because I've seen some stuff online, this judge, jury, executioner thing, I haven't heard Rachel speak on this yet. Until I actually hear this woman have a chance to speak, who am I to say any of this?" End quote. People found his comments to be offensive and insensitive, saying that he was too quick to defend this contestant's actions. After all this drama, it was announced that he was leaving the show, and he's not been welcomed back. Maybe if things were different, Chris could have found a job working as a host for one of Netflix's many dating reality shows, but instead this scandal ruined his chances. At number 3, James Franco. Back in 2014, actor James Franco got into a scandal after he tried sliding into a fan's DMs, only to find out that she was actually 17 years old. This happened when James met a girl visiting New York City as an early 18th birthday present. James met her at an autograph signing outside of one of his Broadway shows. The two took pictures together and she tagged him, which obviously led to to him finding her Instagram and DMing her. The two talked for a bit, and the fan even asked to see his ID to make sure it was really him. After their conversation continued, James asked for her number, her age, her relationship status, and whether or not he should have booked a hotel room for the both of them. Luckily, nothing ever ended up happening between them, but the fan ended up exposing their conversation online, and James faced mild backlash. After that and some other scandals he's been in, a lot of people don't want to work with James, and that could potentially include companies like Netflix as well. At number 2, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne is no stranger to bad press. She's been facing backlash since she was a Disney star, and really things have just escalated since then. Because she's viewed by many as a problematic celebrity, Hollywood, specifically companies like Netflix, may be hesitant to hire her for upcoming projects just because of how people view her. In the last year or so, Bella has been in the news for a number of scandals. Bella has faced backlash for her OnlyFans scam, where she scammed her fans into paying upwards of $200 for content that they weren't happy with, and it even prompted a company policy change that affected other creators on the platform. She was also involved in some Twitter beef with her ex Tana Mojo because she released a diss track about her, and earlier this year, Bella faced even more backlash as she publicly defended Armie Hammer and the whole scandal that the actor was caught in. Bella has a way of rubbing people the wrong way, and since she's faced so much backlash just in the last year alone, I feel like Netflix might pass her over for a little while. And finally, at number 1, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks is actually a lot more controversial than you might think. Not too long ago, she faced backlash for her time on America's Next Top Model. Old photos and episodes re-emerged, which showed the types of photos that contestants were forced to take, including ones with the models in blackface. This made people take another look at the show's past, and it dug up more dirt on the way that Tyra used to treat her contestants as well. For a long time after the show, past contestants have been outspoken about the way that they were treated on the show and how their narratives were spun to make them look more susceptible to hate. Not too long ago, one of the models from Cycle 6, Lisa D'Amato, called Tyra out for how she used her past traumas against her and how she endured verbal, mental, and physical turmoil while working with Tyra. Now that all this has come out about her past, Hollywood might be staying away from Tyra, and her latest gig of hosting Dancing with the Stars might be all she's got to hold on to now that the world knows about what she's like behind the scenes, and since no one else will work with her. Maybe she could have started another fashion-related show on Netflix, but because of her reputation, the network probably would have passed on that. At number 10, Bella Thorne. If there's one thing that Disney hates, it's when people talk badly about them. They like keeping their brand as clean, drama-free, and family-friendly as possible, so when people, especially their former stars, come out with their stories about working with Disney and having negative attention thrown their way, Disney does the best they can to shut that person out and cut ties to save them the drama. This is the case for Bella Thorne, as she's done multiple interviews talking about her bad experience working for Disney, which, as you could imagine, hasn't made the company very happy. Bella has told sources about how they used to force her to speak in a higher-pitched voice to seem more cute and wholesome, and she caused a scandal among executives when she was a young teenager because she was photographed in a bikini, and Disney wanted to fire her for it. Disney has kept their distance from Bella since she left the company to pursue more mature roles, and now there is no chance that they will ever hire her back.
And at number 9, Edward Norton. Edward Norton is a very talented actor, but he is difficult to work with. Disney learned this for themselves after they cast Norton in The Incredible Hulk. After shooting that movie, he was not asked to return for any sequels because he was such a pain on set. And Disney has a reputation for not putting up with any entitled actors, so if the studio senses any unprofessionalism, they will cut an actor very quickly, which is exactly what happened to Norton. And they replaced Norton with Mark Ruffalo in the Avengers franchise. Since then, he has not appeared in any Disney movies, and I wouldn't assume that will change.
At number 8, Lindsay Lohan. There have been a number of former child stars that the media have dubbed a child star gone bad, and the majority of them being former Disney stars. One of the first celebrities that you might think of who fits this narrative is probably Lindsay Lohan, which is why they probably would never hire her again. There was a time when Lindsay was one of the most sought after young actresses in the industry thanks to Disney. From starring in films like The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Disney loved Lindsay, and this catapulted her career through her childhood and teenage years. But then there came a time when Lindsay sort of burned out and went down a dark path, so to speak. Soon she was in the media for misdemeanor arrests, drug charges, substance abuse, rehab, jail sentences, probation, and a number of other unfortunate happenings in her life. Since her time working for Disney, Lindsay has been in her fair share of Hollywood scandals, and as we know, Disney does not like bad press. Though she will forever be linked with the company since that's where she got her big break, they will no doubt forego hiring her for anything they were producing because of her tarnished reputation.
And at number 7, Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez might be the most famous Disney star ever, getting her start on the show Wizards of Waverly Place. She always remained very brand friendly in her years working with Disney and hardly got in any scandals the studio would not approve of. But that all changed in 2012 when she decided to change her nice girl image and act in the movie Spring Breakers. This film was not only a flop in many ways, but it was very scandalous. She then produced the Netflix series 13 Reasons Why, another controversial show about bullying in high school and the devastating effects it can have. After shedding her perfect image, it's not likely the studio will work with her ever again.
At number 6, Jake Paul. Looking at Jake Paul now, you could honestly forget that he used to be a Disney star. I mean, you look at the guy post-boxing match, bloody and bruised, and it's hard to imagine that face on the Disney Channel. But before 2017, Jake Paul was a member of the cast of Bizaardvark until he got fired from the show. Though he was a pretty hard-working actor, something that was once his passion, he also was in the midst of running Team 10, and at this point it was still fairly new but incredibly successful. At this point in time, Jake was frequently in the news because of backyard fires, noise complaints, police calls, and just being a nuisance to his neighbors, something that they complained about often. After all of Jake's bad press, he got a call from the show's executives saying that they were going to start weaning him off the show, and eventually took him off the show completely. Disney didn't need this kind of bad press from someone that the media was calling a YouTube rat. Jake didn't really seem to mind getting let go from his job since it allowed him to grow his YouTube presence even more, and I guess it worked out because now he's a really annoying boxer and I doubt Disney would ever want to hire Jake back.
Halfway at number 5, Vanessa Hudgens. Vanessa Hudgens gained notoriety from the hit Disney movie High School Musical. She was another star who stayed out of trouble and followed the rules during her time with the studio. But when she turned 18, she got into a scandal that ruined her relationship with Disney. In 2007, nude photos of Vanessa's were leaked to the public. These were photos meant for the eyes of her boyfriend at the time, Zac Efron. At that time, nobody was sympathetic about the leak. Rather, the public actually shamed her for taking the photos in the first place. At first, Disney wanted to cut her from the studio altogether, but High School Musical 3 senior year was set to film, and the franchise was so successful, they still decided to include Vanessa. However, they made her apologize for the photos first, which is so bizarre because her privacy was the thing that was violated. Since then, she hasn't appeared in any Disney movies, but has been successful in some other movies.
At number 4, Miley Cyrus. Even though so many of us loved seeing Miley Cyrus on the Disney Channel, apparently it was a nightmare for her. Over the years since leaving Disney, she has been very outspoken about her time on set, as well as how being a child star on the Disney Channel really hurt her. In interviews, she's told sources about scandals that she was a part of as a Disney star, like how she got in trouble for taking photos for a fashion publication because they weren't deemed Disney safe, and how she felt pressured to work through even the toughest moments of her life. As we know, Disney hates being seen negatively in the media, and so they pulled away from Miley, but when the 2013 Bangers era hit for Miley, they just completely banned her after that, putting an end to her time at Disney and severing all ties. I will say though, it would have been cool to see a Hannah Montana reboot, but that's probably never going to happen because Miley and Disney are at odds with each other.
And at number 3, Orlando Brown. Since starring alongside Raven-Symoné in the Disney show That's So Raven, Orlando Brown has been in a lot of trouble with the law. He's been charged on multiple crimes related to domestic violence, domestic battery, obstruction, and drug possession. After police were called during a fight with his then-girlfriend, they arrested and charged Brown, along with charging him on other crimes after they discovered illegal substances in his possession. He was also charged for burglary in 2018, and to make things even worse, he was smiling ear to ear in his mugshot, which is very unsettling. Since Orlando has been in trouble with the law and served jail time, Disney will not risk tarnishing their image by hiring him.
At number 2, Shia LaBeouf. Some Disney stars are able to continue having a pretty decent acting career even after their time working for the company has ended. Even though they might not work for Disney, sometimes these stars are able to hold their own for the most part after leaving. This was seemingly the idea for Shia LaBeouf since he continued to be able to find success in the industry since ending his role on Even Stevens, but in recent years his trouble with the law and substance abuse has called down the Disney ban hammer, and now he makes a list of those who are unwelcome at Disney and who would never be hired by the company again. Shia has had multiple run-ins with police, being arrested multiple times over the years, and one of those times resulted in a racism scandal as he hurled racially charged remarks and disrespect towards a black police officer. He also had scandals involving public intoxication and violence, and his most recent scandal involves his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs and her lawsuit against him where she alleged that he hurt her during the time that they were together. With all of this bad press, Disney no doubt is wanting to scrub themselves clean of their affiliations with the actor because of his bad place in the media, and definitely don't want to think about working with him again.
And finally at number 1, Terrence Howard. If you're a fan of Rhodes/War Machine in the MCU, you know that Don Cheadle plays those roles, but he didn't always play them, and originally Terrence Howard was cast in the role. Howard acted in the first film, but then Cheadle appeared in his place in Iron Man 2, prompting the question of why. Howard addressed it in 2013 on Watch What Happens Live. Howard told Andy Cohen that when it came time to make Iron Man 2, Marvel only wanted to pay him 1/8 of what they originally owed him. Howard even reached out to Robert Downey Jr. for help, who did not offer any support. Howard wasn't okay with the lesser salary, so they booted him from the film and made Cheadle his replacement. After this debacle, I doubt he will ever work with Disney again.
Compared to his former castmates like Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, Taylor wasn't able to hold on to the success that he got from being in the Twilight movies. In fact, it was right after the series ended that Taylor's career started to fumble. Like any other actor would, he started looking for work and he was cast in a few movies. His first film after Twilight was Abduction, and unfortunately it bombed at the box office. Following that failure, he was booked in another role a few years later in the film Tracers, and that didn't do very well either. At this point, Hollywood was starting to notice this new pattern of movie failures, and it was at this point that Taylor's career started to suffer. Before I continue on with the video, I just want to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. Thank you for your support and for helping our channel grow, we really appreciate it. The films Taylor starred in following his time in the Twilight Saga were both action films, and since they both ended up tanking and getting poor views, people started thinking that maybe Taylor just wasn't cut out for these kinds of movies. I mean, when you think about it, he became a big name actor through Twilight, and his character was essentially there for the sex appeal. He was good at looking good and being dramatic. After all, it was a teen drama film. So coming out of that and seeing him fail at being an action star, people just assumed that since Taylor was Jacob Black for so long, that he was lost in Twilight's shadow. Even though Taylor branched out from action and tried comedy, his 2016 film The Ridiculous Six failed as well, and is also one of the few films to have a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So now at this point he's failing as an actor. He's not getting booked for any new roles because of the fact that productions that he's been in have failed, and people are thinking that Taylor just can't hold his own. Taylor has said that after Twilight was over, he wanted to branch out and try different styles and genres, since he'd really only been in one or two things throughout his career before then. He didn't want to become a stale actor, but unfortunately that's what he was becoming. On top of that, no one wanted to hire him because of his asking salary. Though he still saw himself as a big name actor, other executives did not, so his asking salary of $10 million per production seemed a little too steep a price point for taking a risk on Taylor. All of this was just hurting Taylor's career even more. You see, so many people are saying that Taylor needs to grow as an actor, and to do that he needs to be in a bunch more productions so that he can evolve his acting style and be able to adapt better to life outside of Twilight. He was in that franchise for so long that he's almost forgotten what else is possible for him. But on the other side of things, he isn't being given the chance to evolve and grow as an actor because Hollywood just won't give him a chance. They've seen his movies fail and they don't want to risk it again. Kristen and Robert were able to make it and grow out of Twilight and become bigger actors, so why can't Taylor? And how can you grow like his former co-stars? The answer is indie films. After Twilight ended, both Kristen and Robert dabbled in the indie film scene, and since these are out of Hollywood's reach for the most part, anything goes. These films have smaller budgets and don't have major corporations breathing down their necks, so really anything is possible on the indie scene, and things are more creatively liberating. But how does this help actors? Well, it gives them the perfect opportunities to grow. Like I mentioned, Robert and Kristen were able to shed their Twilight skins, if you will, and were able to outgrow that franchise because they took some time to act in indie films and grow as actors. Though they're still questioned about Twilight and compared to their roles from those days, they're also still cast in a lot of big Hollywood films because Hollywood knows that they're more versatile. I mean, Robert has gone from Twinkly Vampire to Batman, so success is possible. If Taylor wants to do what he said and grow as an actor, indie films are the perfect place to start. There are an array of different roles to film and so many genres to try out, and since they're independent films, there's more creative freedom and place to grow than within a big budget corporate Hollywood film. If he takes some time to grow in the indie scene, he might be Hollywood ready in a couple years, and he could very well make a comeback, even to the degree of Kristen and Robert. Right now though, it doesn't seem like he's all that interested in making his return. He's reportedly working on his relationships, his family, and himself, but maybe if he feels like he's ready to try try again, we could see a second coming of Lautner. Now I want to throw it over to you guys and get your opinions in the comments. I know we haven't seen very much coming from Taylor in recent years. He's been in a few episodes of Scream Queens, but other than that, we haven't really seen much else from him. Do you guys think he can make a comeback, especially if he tries indie films like I had suggested? There have been so many other Twilight actors who were never really able to pick up on their fame since the saga ended, so do you think that Taylor can do it? I know he's had some movies tank in the past, but I don't know, I just feel like he wasn't given a fair chance. Hollywood saw him as a goldmine of potential at first, but later on when things didn't pan out, he was basically just dropped. But I feel like Robert and Kristen were given a better chance because they were slightly more famous and likable in the industry. It's all just speculation in my own opinion, but let me know your thoughts on the matter. I would personally love to see Taylor make a comeback, and not as the guy with the muscles, but in a real meaningful way, you know? Also, he could have used the Shark Boy and Lava Girl reboot to make a comeback, but he didn't. He turned it down instead. Does this mean that he's done with acting? I don't know. I think I'm just mad because he would have made that movie great, especially if he rebooted the Dream song.
To really understand where everything went wrong, let's start back at the beginning, shall we? Toby's first credited on-screen role came at the age of 15 when he was featured as a character in the sitcom called First and 10. For most of the 1990s, he picked up several smaller walk-on roles in TV shows, with his first big starring role coming in 1992 with the short-lived sitcom called Great Scott. Although even with his great start to acting, Toby never believed that he could become a professional actor. Apparently during his childhood, he even entertained the idea of becoming a chef and even wanted to enroll in a home economics class as a 6th grader. Although his mother, who once had dreams of being a professional actor, offered Toby $100 to take a drama class instead. He ended up agreeing to this, and in doing so, he decided to drop out of high school to continue acting. Thanks to some luck, talent, and his good boy appearance, Toby ended up booking a lot of roles, which is actually one of the main reasons why he just isn't booking roles anymore in his older age. As time went on, Toby's baby face and softer voice began to lose its original charm. Boyish charm, I should add, that he leaned heavily on for films such as The Cider House Rules and eventually Spider-Man. The problem is that he never changed his acting style along with his own aging process. He was still attempting to depend on that boyish charm despite looking aged out. All that did was make it very difficult for audiences to connect with him, and thus the decline began. One of his childhood friends, Leonardo DiCaprio, is a good example of someone who was on the same path, but as he aged, he took on more gritty roles to overcome that boy next door casting call. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that he tried to take on different roles, but the reputation just didn't stick. In 1998, he starred alongside Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro for the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is an absolutely wild movie about the life of Hunter S. Thompson, and you don't get grittier than that. Following this film, he displayed that he was capable of being a more universal actor, and in 2002 he landed his career-defining role when he was cast to play Peter Parker. With his intelligent demeanor, acting talent, and short stature, he was the perfect fit to bring the iconic character of Spider-Man to the big screen. With this movie coming out, Toby was solidified as an A-lister in Hollywood, and in the opening weekend the movie brought in $110 million. So what do you do from there? Well, you sign a contract for 2 more sequels, because why not try and strike while the iron's hot? Although by 2007, when the third film rolled into theaters, his career took a drastic nosedive. The third film was heavily relying on the success of the first 2, with the second film being considered one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Even the director Sam Raimi admitted to his shortcomings of Spider-Man 3. In 2014, during an interview with The Nerdist, he said, "Each and every one of those Spider-Man movies were pretty damn challenging. Working in that big budget arena where so much is at stake with much beloved characters that Stan Lee created, and people really hold them so dear to them that you don't want to mess up. And I messed up plenty with the third Spider-Man, so people hated me for years. They still hate me for it. It's a movie that just didn't work very well. I tried to make it work but didn't really believe in all the characters, and so that can't be hidden from people who love Spider-Man. If a director doesn't love something, it's wrong of them to make it if so many other people love it." On top of that, Sony decided to scrap a potential 4th film because supposedly Sam Raimi couldn't get a script done on their timeline. That being said, all the blame shouldn't be put on Sam for the lack of work that Toby would get. One of the real reasons that Hollywood won't hire him is scandal. In 2011, his penchant for gambling got the better of him as he was tied up in a massive illegal poker club that allegedly involved the likes of Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and DiCaprio. He was even sued for his involvement after it was revealed that the poker ringleader Bradley Ruderman had been using investor funds to play poker with. Toby ended up settling in 2013 to avoid further litigation, and then on top of it all, he was named in Molly Bloom's scathing memoir titled Molly's Game. In the book, Molly writes about Toby and says, "Jamie and Toby were all in, and I wasn't sure which one I was rooting for. Jamie had almost lost his bankroll, and once he did, I wouldn't be able to let him play anymore. I liked Jamie, he was kind and generous. Toby was the worst tipper, the best player, and the absolute worst loser, but I had to worry about my job security if he lost. I held my breath and watched Diego turn over the cards. Toby won." Although it gets worse than just him being a sore loser or a poor tipper. He's actually a sore winner. Molly continues by saying he held a $1,000 chip in his hand. He flipped it over a couple times in his fingers. "This is yours," he said, holding it out. "Thanks, Toby," I said, reaching my hand out. He yanked the chip back at the last second. He said, "if you do something to earn these $1,000. His voice was loud enough that some of the guys looked up to see what was happening. I laughed, trying not to show my nerves. "What do I want you to do?" he said, as if he were pondering. The whole table was watching us now. "I know," he said. "Get up on that desk and bark like a seal." I looked at him. His face was lit up like it was Christmas Eve. "Bark like a seal who wants a fish," he said. I laughed again, stalling, hoping he would play the joke out by himself and leave. "I'm not kidding. What's wrong? You too rich now? You won't bark for $1,000? Wow, you must be really rich." These are just a few of these stories that damaged his reputation, and since the release of Molly's Game, Toby has been pretty much blacklisted from Hollywood. Megan Fox made her acting debut in the family film called Holiday in the Sun that was released in 2001. This came after numerous supporting roles in both film and television, as well as a starring role in ABC's Hope and Faith. Although without a shadow of a doubt her breakout role as an actor was when she played Michaela Baines in the blockbuster action film called Transformers. She would then reprise her role in the sequel called Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, but incidents with director Michael Bay are what many attribute to her decline in Hollywood. Fox had signed up to reprise her role for a third movie with the Transformers franchise and even had gone to rehearsals. However, she also did an interview where she compared Michael Bay to Hitler, and he apparently was willing to forgive her, but producer Steven Spielberg wasn't so pleased. You see, after Spielberg directed the movie Schindler's List, he founded the survivors of the Shoah Visual History Foundation to combat bigotry and keep alive the story of Holocaust survivors. So it's not surprising that when Fox made this comparison, he didn't take it lightly. During an interview with GQ magazine, Michael Bay responded to a question about the termination of Megan Fox from his film. He said, and I quote, "She was in a different world. On her BlackBerry, you gotta stay focused. And you know, the Hitler thing." Steven Spielberg said, "Fire her right now." Now apparently Spielberg has denied this version of the events, and Megan's representation told People magazine, "Megan Fox will not be starring in Transformers 3. It was her decision not to return. She wishes the franchise the best." Now no matter who you want to believe though, this left the screenwriters for the film scrambling to rewrite the script given that a replacement for Fox was now required. Despite claiming to just not want to be involved with the film, Hollywood deemed Megan Fox to be too difficult to work with. Screenwriter Aaron Kruger, who was on the team for Transformers Dark of the Moon, told GQ in 2011 more issues that they had with Megan adding to this point. In that article he's quoted as saying, "She was there for rehearsals, but she seemed like an actress who didn't want to be a part of it. She was saying she wanted to, but she wasn't acting like it." Following her comments regarding Michael Bay, 3 crew members who had also worked on the Transformers franchise released a scathing statement just trashing Megan Fox. I mean, it's far too long to read out the entire thing, but I'll give you some of the highlights. In one section they say, "Michael found this shy, inexperienced girl, plucked her out of total obscurity, thus giving her the biggest shot of any young actress's life. He told everyone around to just trust him on his choice. He granted her the starring role in Transformers, a franchise that forever changed her life. She became one of the most Googled and ogled women on earth. She was famous. She was the next Angelina Jolie. Hooray! Wait a minute, 2 of us worked with Angelina. Second thought, she's no Angelina. You see, Angelina is a professional." The shade. Then in another section, these crew members start to talk about Megan's lack of interest while being on set. And who is the real Megan Fox? She is very different than the Academy nominee and winning actors we've all worked around. She's as about ungracious a person as you can ever fathom. She shows little interest in the crew members around her. We work to make her look good in every way, but she's absolutely never appreciative of anyone's hard work. Never a thank you. All the crew members have stopped saying hi to Miss Princess because she never says hello back. It gets tiring. Many think she just really hates the process of being an actress. And as a follow-up to her unceremonious departure from Transformers, Megan starred in a box office flop called Jennifer's Body. Then DC, wanting to hop on the train like Marvel with their Iron Man 1 film and Iron Man 2 film, they started using lower tier titles and released a Jonah Hex film in 2010. Millions of potential filmgoers asked the very good question of, what the hell is a Jonah Hex? Well, he's a grizzled 19th century bounty hunter with a burned face, played by Josh Brolin, while Fox played the love interest, an Old West prostitute named Lila Black. Jonah Hex proved to also be a huge box office flop, earning a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes and just $10 million at the American box office. Even Megan Fox herself realized how bad that movie was. While at WonderCon in 2016, she was answering questions about which movie she would let her kids see, and here's what Megan had to say. "Something like Jennifer's Body I'm not going to let them see for a long time. Something like Jonah Hex, I'm not going to let them see ever. No one should ever see that movie. Came from herself. Now, a lot of my thoughts about why Megan wasn't being cast had a lot to do with the projects on her resume more than who she is as a person. The reality is that most actors are difficult to work with, but if they are a big star, then the whole film crew just kind of bites their tongues throughout the filming. However, Megan has noticeably made a move to other mediums. She's doing more comedy with her temporary time on the sitcom New Girl, and she was just in Machine Gun Kelly's music video. But leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on what would be a better genre for Megan Fox other than action films, because I think those days are gone now. If Steven Spielberg hates you, action films are out the window.
Katherine Heigl was introduced to the general public when she was cast as Dr. Isabel Stevens on Grey's Anatomy in 2005, and she was quickly considered the breakout character. And even though the show made her a star, it also caused her downfall. Then in 2007, she starred in rom-com hits like Knocked Up alongside Seth Rogen. Then that same year, she won an Emmy for her performance on Grey's, winning the Best Supporting Actress Drama Award. Then she starred in rom-com 27 Dresses, which was a huge box office hit. And because of all of this happening in a short time, she became a bona fide celebrity, a regular on Hollywood's sexiest lists and magazine covers. In 2008, she was even voted the most desirable woman, according to AskMen.com. That same year, she was primed to win the Emmy again for her role in Grey's, but she made one entitled move and it cost her whole career. Right before the Emmys, she pulled herself out of contention for the award, with her reason being that she didn't think her role in season 4 was, quote, given the material to warrant a win. Saying in a statement, quote, I did not feel I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention. In addition, I did not want to potentially take away an opportunity from an actress who was given such materials. And obviously, a move like that is not only ridiculous, but also incredibly shady towards the show's creator and writer, Shonda Rhimes, as well as everyone else on the show. And Rhimes actually had a reason for not giving Heigl as much material. Apparently Heigl told her that she wanted a lighter work schedule, and the show acted accordingly. But after that, even though plenty of people absolutely hated Heigl, she still managed to book some more roles. She starred in The Ugly Truth, Killers with Ashton Kutcher, and Life as We Know It, all which had pretty good success and she was paid very well for. But the situation for Heigl went from bad to worse on March 11, 2010, when she reportedly did not show up for work on Grey's Anatomy, and Rhimes reached an agreement to immediately release Heigl from her contract. And although the show played it off as cool in the beginning, Rhimes later told Oprah Winfrey that Heigl's Emmy statement stung, saying, quote, on some level it stung, on some level I was not surprised. Adding, quote, when people show you who they are, believe them. I carry that with me a lot. It has served me well. Then even admitting to The Hollywood Reporter later on in 2014 that Rhimes has a, quote, no policy. Adding, quote, there are no Heigls on set and I don't put up with bullshit or nasty people, hinting at their feud. To make things worse, around the same time, Heigl received a Golden Raspberry Award nomination for Worst Actress. Yikes. Then 2 years later, when Heigl's career was looking really rough, she actually went back to the show and begged to get back on set and finish out Izzy's storyline, even saying that she missed the show and the work environment in general. But of course, they did not take her back after she embarrassed them like that. This is when the bad really started, and in the 2010s, whatever role she had was generally a flop. Heigl finally apologized for her Grey's snub in a 2016 interview with Howard Stern, admitting that she was embarrassed and actually approached Rhimes after it all went down to apologize. Saying in the interview, quote, I went in because I was really embarrassed, so I went to Shonda and said, I'm so sorry, that wasn't cool, I shouldn't have said that. And I shouldn't have said anything publicly. But at the time, I didn't think anybody would notice. I just quietly didn't submit and then it became a story. I felt like I was obligated to make a statement. But after some time in the dumps and showing remorse for her bad actions, it seems that Hollywood has given her another chance. This came in the form of Meghan Markle leaving Suits to get married to Prince Harry, with Heigl taking Markle's spot. Heigl was cast as Samantha Wheeler in season 8 of the hit show, saying it all happened because she was obsessed with the show, and even contacted the creator to see if there was a potential that they could collaborate. And luckily he needed someone for the show and ended up casting Heigl for the role. And when speaking about the role, she said, quote, I am playing one of the most interesting and bad women I have the opportunity to play. But that's not all. She was also cast in Firefly Lane, a Netflix series based on the novel by Kristen Hanna. So after all the drama, it seems like she might be making a comeback once again. And all fans can hope is that she learned her lesson and will not squander the new opportunities that she has been given. So that's all for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Catherine. Personally, I always loved her as an actress and liked her in the roles that she played. But when I found out later about her being like a major diva, it definitely left a bad taste, you know? But from the Suits promos that I've seen, it seems like she's settling into the role really well, and I hope she can do the show justice, because it used to be one of my favorites, to be honest. But then, honestly, in the later season, it kind of went downhill. Just the, classic story.
Too much pressure. I know that there are a lot of kids out there who dream of being the next big Hollywood star. A lot of actors begin their careers at young ages, and some of those child actors go on to be pretty big successes, but with that success comes a pretty big downside. Many former child actors have spoken out about their experiences of being in the spotlight at such a young age, and it doesn't sound like all sunshine and rainbows at all. This is one of the grievances that Tom Felton has with his career, and this could be one of the things that has held him back from the entertainment industry in later years. Tom has spoken out about the pressures of being a child actor, and a very famous one at that, since he was one of the stars of the biggest film franchises ever. Tom, when talking about his childhood, has said that he kind of resents the Harry Potter series and his part in it because he said that it robbed him of a normal childhood. That's completely understandable, since usually kids don't have to grow up in the public eye doing interviews, press conferences, and having paparazzi breathing down their necks. When Tom was asked about how he felt about the Harry Potter series coming to an end, he seemed a little bitter towards the films when he said that he was looking forward to it all being over and to having the freedom of not starring in films anymore because he hated his fame. Saying something like that might make Hollywood a little hesitant about hiring someone who hates their craft and what comes with it. Continuing on about his feelings towards the films and the part he played in his success, Tom told the Daily Mail, quote, "One thing that people keep on saying to me is that the wealth and fame must have made up for missing out on my childhood. But the idea of money putting a price on your childhood is ridiculous. To me, fame is not a positive thing. The idea of being famous is a lot better than the reality. It's fantastic when you go to premieres and people cheer for you, but it's not real." End quote. His resentment towards everything might have hurt his career in the long run. Career change. Usually when an actor gets out of one project, they start looking for the next big thing, that next big thing normally being another show or movie. But this wasn't exactly the case with Tom Felton. When his fellow Harry Potter castmates wrapped up their time in the franchise, Daniel Radcliffe moved on to Broadway and indie films, Emma Watson went to college, became an ambassador for a number of projects, and continued acting, but for Tom Felton, his next career move after Harry Potter was moving on to music, specifically rap. Yeah. He decided to leave the world of acting behind and got into the music scene, and in 2011 he announced that he had actually signed a contract with an indie label to produce some hip-hop music. Speaking out about this new part in his life, the actor said, quote, "I was thinking of doing some N-dub style stuff. I'm looking to get into the grime rap UK scene." End quote. He continued saying that he was really doing this to change his image. This really goes hand in hand with what he said about resenting his image as an actor and everything that came with it, so again, these comments and sudden career change certainly didn't help him out in Hollywood. What really sucked about this huge career change for Tom was the fact that his music never quite took off. Some songs had hit the public circuit, but not enough to really say that he found his next career path. It hurt his career taking this leap of faith and not having it pan out in his favor. Now before we carry on talking about why Hollywood doesn't want to work with Tom Felton anymore, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. Typecasting. Because Tom Felton played the role of Draco Malfoy so well, it ended up being more of a hindrance to his career rather than an asset. Draco was pretty much an antagonist character in the Harry Potter series, and because Tom was so good at portraying a character who was mean and cold, this made Hollywood executives want to cast him in more roles similar to Draco's character. Though this could be good in some way, it also puts an actor in a box because no matter what other roles he's cast in, he's still seen as the villain. Tom Felton has spoken out on a number of occasions, saying that his natural personality is nothing like that of Draco Malfoy, so he really wanted to distance himself from playing a villain role. But again, when typecasting comes into play, it's hard to get out of that box that Hollywood has put you in. Even the first role that Tom booked right after Harry Potter ended was an antagonist character, so this really just showed the actor that he was certainly stuck within his craft. Even Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, had a hard time booking roles after the series ended because everyone still saw him as the boy wizard, but he worked really hard to break that image and still continues to do so. Maybe if Tom Felton had done what Daniel did, then he would be more successful in Hollywood these days. Adjustment. Another reason that Hollywood might be overlooking Tom Felton for new roles could be because of the adjustment period that Tom took after wrapping on Harry Potter. Tom has opened up in the past about how it took him some time to get used to the idea of auditioning for roles again and not having them handed to him as the next installment of Harry Potter would start up pretty much right after the last one ended.
He had been doing that same routine since starting his work on the films at the age of 12, and so this was a big change for him to have to seek out new work. During an interview with the Daily Mail in 2011, Tom opened up about how he had to adjust to the auditioning process again, saying that things were much harder for him coming back to it after so many years. He told the publication, quote, "I'm much more nervous in auditions now than when I was 11. You take a lot of hits before you get something good. The first few were heartbreaking," end quote. The actor even went on to say that auditioning became so hard for him that he considered walking away from the business altogether. As you can imagine, auditioning is a huge part of being an actor, and so nailing an audition is really what makes or breaks one's career. Since Tom had such a hard time getting back into it, Hollywood might have seen this as a huge weakness and might not have wanted to take a chance on the actor because of it. Box office bombs. We all know by now that money is really what matters to people in the film industry. I mean, yeah, there are those few in the industry who do it all for the love of the craft, but for the most part, people are just out here trying to make the big bucks. Film executives want to hire the best people for their projects to make sure that their projects go well and are successful enough to make them lots of dough, so when things go left and films bomb at the box office, it ends up hurting a lot of people. Not only will the studio have lost a lot of money, but the actors would also be blamed for the movie not doing well because of their performance. This can cause actors to lose a lot of credibility in the industry because people rarely want to take a chance on people who might not make the contribution that they're looking for in regards to their film. This could be why Tom Felton hasn't really been hired much in Hollywood these days, because some of the films that Tom booked following the end of Harry Potter didn't really do too well. To some, Tom isn't considered a bankable actor in Hollywood because his recent films haven't brought in much money for the studio, and that's never a good thing. Being associated with so many box office bombs doesn't make a casting agent's job very easy because they can only do so much to get their client's foot in the door and in front of the director. This is why a lot of actors turn to indie films when coming out of big franchises. Actors like Daniel Radcliffe and Taylor Lautner have gone into the indie circuit after leaving their respective hit films because it's a good way to get into the industry without being pressured to make a lot of money. It's almost like building yourself and your career back from the ground up. So maybe Tom should look into this before really throwing in the towel with Hollywood. He's still a notable name, he's just gotta grind it out to get back on top and back in Hollywood's good books. Maybe we'll see this in the new year.
Starting off this countdown, we have James Van Der Beek, aka the one and only Dawson Leary. In the show, Dawson wants to become a huge director like Steven Spielberg, so he enlists his friends to help star in his productions. After the series, James went on to star in One Tree Hill, Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment 23, CSI, Cyber, and much, much more. He even was on Dancing with the Stars where he placed 5th, which, not bad. What's more impressive is that James only had a few credits to his name when he booked his role on Dawson's Creek. He then dropped out of university where he was studying English to pursue his career in acting. Currently, he is voicing the character of Boris on Disney's animated series Vampirina. He currently has 6 children with his wife Kimberly Brook. Now, I will say he is keeping it pretty low-key with his acting, kind of, just doing it casually, as opposed to his cast members. In our 9th spot, we have Katie Holmes. Many people argue that Katie Holmes is one of the most successful actors from the cast of Dawson's. In fact, she almost passed on the role as Joey Potter. Turns out that she had a high school production at the same time as her audition for Dawson's Creek, and she refused to drop out. Thankfully, they let her send in a video self-tape for her audition, and then she got it. Since then, she has gone on to star in films such as Pieces of April, Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, Thank You for Smoking, and the horror film Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And of course, she went on to marry Tom Cruise in 2006. And for the longest time, they were a power couple until their divorce in 2012. Katie also went on to star in the TV miniseries The Kennedys, where she plays Jackie Kennedy. And she has starred in 2 episodes of How I Met Your Mother before starring in Ray Donovan. There's many other films and shows that she's been in, like literally the list could go on and on. In our 8th spot today, we have Kerr Smith. Kerr Smith played Jack McPhee on Dawson's Creek and became one of the first gay characters to be in a series regular on a prime time drama. So that was huge for the show and him. Kerr actually attended the University of Vermont where he got a bachelor's degree in business administration. He didn't book his first role until he was 24, so for many, he got into acting at a late age. His first gig was on As the World Turns. He was on the soap opera for a year and a half before appearing on the 2nd season of Dawson's Creek. Smith has gone on to star in Charmed,
Charmed, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Fosters, and most recently, Riverdale. And of course, he was in the Final Destination franchises. How can we forget? Nowadays, he also runs a holistic health and wellness business called TerraLife Wellness with his second wife, Lisa. In our 7th spot, we have Mary Beth Peil. Mary Beth is now 81 years old and she is still acting. She started acting in the 1960s and went on to play Jen Lindley's grandmother on Dawson's. Now, Mary Beth actually began acting in a number of Broadway shows. So after Dawson's Creek, she went back to Broadway. She starred in 9, Follies, and Anastasia. In fact, she earned her second Tony Award nomination for Anastasia. She also went on to star in The Good Wife, The Village, and most recently, The CW's Katie Keene. In our 6th spot today, we have John Wesley Shipp. You probably know him as Mitch Leary, aka Dawson's father on Dawson's Creek. Now, John had quite a few roles under his belt before starring in Dawson's, including playing Barry Allen on the CBS The Flash. So it makes sense that after Dawson's Creek, he would continue on to have a successful career. Since then, he has starred in Teen Wolf, The Closer, One Life to Live, Supergirl, The Arrow, and now he plays Barry Allen's father, Henry Allen, on the CW's reboot of The Flash. It's kind of cool how that role kind of came full circle for him. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark today with Mary Margaret Humes. Mary played Gail Leary, Dawson's mom, on Dawson's Creek. Before her role, she had been in shows like The Dukes of Hazzard, Throwback if you know that show, and Blossom. Since Dawson's Creek, she has been in a number of TV shows and movies, but nothing super well known. I mean, she was in Grey's Anatomy, Criminal Minds, and Ghost Whisperer, but only in a single episode, never recurring characters. The main projects that she's been working on are TV movies. She's been in a lot of Hallmark movies, including Christmas in Love, Winter Love Story, A Feeling of Home, and A Valentine's Match. In our 4th spot, we have Joshua Jackson. After Dawson's Creek, Joshua Jackson went on to star in Fringe, The Affair, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Little Fires Everywhere, and Dr. Death. He also appeared in a number of movies as well, and he made an appearance on stage, performing in the productions of A Life in the Theater, Smart People, and Children of a Lesser God. He has maintained a lower profile as well compared to his colleagues, but he's still working. From 2006 to 2016, Joshua was in a relationship with Diane Kruger, but after 10 years together, the pair split. 2 years later, he began dating Joni Turner-Smith, and they got married in 2019, and in 2020, they welcomed their first child together. In our 3rd spot today, we have Busy Phillips. Busy Phillips had been in Freaks and Geeks before she joined the cast of Dawson's Creek as Audrey, Joey's college roommate. After the show, she went on to land a leading role in Cougar Town, and also starred in some pretty iconic movies like White Chicks, He's Just Not That Into You, The Gift, and I Feel Pretty. In fact, for Cougar Town, she won a Critics' Choice TV Award for Best Supporting Actress. Not only that, but she has starred in a number of shows like Vice Principals, American Dad, and most recently, Girls 5 Ever. In 2019, she even briefly hosted her own talk show. In 2007, Busy married Mark Silverstein, and they have 2 children together. Fun fact, her and Michelle Williams are still very close and good friends. In our 2nd spot, we have Meredith Monroe. Meredith Monroe was actually the oldest member of the Creek crew in the show. Similar to Kurt, she had a late start to acting. She only had a couple of small roles on her resume before booking Dawson's Creek. Afterwards, she starred in a number of big TV shows like Californication, NCIS, Psych, CSI New York, Heart of Dixie, and Castle. She even had a reoccurring role on Criminal Minds. From there, she booked a role in the film The Edge of 17, which is a great coming-of-age movie if you haven't seen it. Then from 2018 to 2020, she was in 13 Reasons Why on Netflix, which is a good show also. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Michelle Williams. People say that out of everyone in Dawson's Creek, Michelle Williams went on to have the most successful career. She has starred in a number of big-name productions over the years. You got Blue Valentine, Brokeback Mountain, My Week with Marilyn, Manchester by the Sea, Shutter Island, The Greatest Showman, just to name a few. In fact, she is a Golden Globe and Emmy Award-winning actor. She's also been nominated for a Tony Award and 4 Academy Awards, and several Oscar nominations. In 2004, Michelle began dating Heath Ledger, and they welcomed a daughter, Matilda, together a year later. In 2007, the pair broke off, and several months later, he sadly died from an accidental drug overdose. Nowadays, Michelle has a number of upcoming projects, including The Fabelmans, Showing Up, and Fever.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Terrence Howard. If you missed all the drama back in 2008, the actor was fired from Marvel's Iron Man movie and burned bridges with pretty much everyone who was involved. Apparently, he was difficult to work with and also wasn't happy with his hefty pay offer, which was reported to be between $3.5 to $4.5 million. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy either with that much money. So he already had a sketchy reputation with Hollywood throughout the years, but in 2019, he made the announcement that he was actually quitting acting. He attended the Emmy Awards and shortly after did an interview where he said, "Oh, I'm done with acting. I'm done pretending. I'm just focusing on bringing the truth to the world." At the time of this video, he is still finishing up his movie called Selfie, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and if he stays true to his word. But at this point, I probably wouldn't even want to work with him. Up next, number 9 is Eliza Dushku. She first made a real name for herself when she took on the role of Missy in Bring It On. From there, her career just completely took off, but came to a sudden end after she made harassment claims back in 2017. After working on TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dollhouse, Leap Year, she signed on to be a part of the series called Bull. But just after 3 episodes, she came forward saying that the producer, Glenn Gordon Caron, would make inappropriate comments about her in front of the entire cast and crew. Apparently, he made remarks about her appearance, he made a joke about rape, and also made a comment about having a threesome. She filed a lawsuit, and after going through mediation with CBS, the company paid her a settlement of $9.5 million. She hasn't acted in anything ever since it was settled, which I think is completely wrong, so I'm actually not impressed that she's on this list. This is not good news to bear. Moving on to the number 8 spot is Clayne Crawford. In 2018, the actor was one of the biggest stars on Fox's TV series Lethal Weapon, but he was dismissed from the show for bad behavior, many people making claims that they did not want to work with him on the show. Videos were leaked later online showing 2 different on-set conflicts, one in which Clayne was yelling at the assistant director, and the other one showed a profanity-filled exchange with his co-star Damon Wayans. He did apologize for his behavior, but by that point, it was already too late. So he ended up bashing Fox and Warner Brothers instead on how they handled the situation and said that they were blackmailing him with the videos for months. The only thing he's been able to book since then is a role in an independent film. So 2020 ain't looking too good. In spot number 7 is Monique. After she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 2010 for her role in Precious, things turned sour 5 years later. She made headlines after she started making serious claims to The Hollywood Reporter, saying that she was blackballed by the industry. She said that the director of the movie, Lee Daniels, had a problem with her because she didn't say his name during the night of the Oscar Awards, but he says that she demanded things that weren't in line with the movie's campaign at the time. Then, later down the road, in November 2019, she filed a lawsuit against Netflix for pay discrimination, alleging that she was offered lower pay than every other comedian. She was offered $500,000 for her special, which is just a fraction of what Amy Schumer and Ellen DeGeneres made for theirs. So basically, she's just getting into a whole bunch of beef with all parts of Hollywood. Cruising into number 6 is Jason Mitchell. He gained attention for his performance as Eazy-E in the 2015 movie Straight Outta Compton, which led to other big roles like his time on the TV series The Chi. He starred in the series from 2018 to 2019, but was let go after the news broke that he was dropped by Netflix. In May 2019, it was reported that Netflix dropped him from their movie Desperados, saying that he had inappropriate offset conduct. Not long after, he was dropped from The Chi and his personal agent. Some of his cast members made claims that he was inappropriate with them and often had issues with rage throughout the filming process. He of course denied the allegations and defended his case, but he probably will not be a hot commodity in 2020 for casting directors. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Lori Loughlin. She faced legal charges in 2019 after being one of many parents who got caught in a nationwide college admissions scandal. Not only did she face a fine, but she also lost her entire acting career. The scandal was known as Operation Varsity Blues. How it works is that people would pay a scam artist named William Singer who would work his magic and basically get them into a school or get them higher exam scores. Lori was accused of paying $500,000 to get her daughters, Olivia and Isabella, into the University of Southern California as crew recruits. Once the story broke, she was fired from the Hallmark Channel and from Netflix, the two networks where she starred on Fuller House and When Calls the Heart. She lost both TV series at once, which sucks, and we haven't seen her in anything ever since, and we probably won't be seeing her in 2020 either, which is a shame, because I really liked her on Full House. Moving down the list, we are at number 4 with Jussie Smollett. How could people ever forget his alleged Hollywood hate crime? If you don't remember this scandal that made headlines back in 2019, Jussie went to the hospital after being attacked by two males who were yelling racial slurs at him. It was reported that they poured a liquid substance on him before basically beating him so badly to a point where he was hospitalized. All of Hollywood and his fans were calling it a hate crime and wanted to seek justice. But in court, the truth came out, and turns out that the two male suspects were actually paid by Jussie to stage the entire thing. In the end, Jussie was charged for filing a false police report. He was immediately fired from his role on the hit TV series Empire, and as of right now, he is not working on anything for 2020. People are just probably trying to avoid hiring him right now. In our third spot is Roseanne Barr. She had her own TV series titled Roseanne, which ran through the years 1988 to 2018 with a total of 229 episodes. So you can imagine how devastating it was for her when she lost the entire show, along with her entire career. Throughout her long career, she's always been known for her unpredictable and unfiltered behavior, but she crossed the line when she sent out a racist tweet. The tweet has since been deleted, but it once referred to Valerie Jarrett, the senior advisor to President Barack Obama, as a child of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. ABC called an emergency meeting immediately, and just a few hours later, her show was cancelled. It's probably safe to say that she won't be making a return to our screens in 2020, but rumor has it that she's planning a comeback tour, wanting to do a live comedy show, so we'll see how that goes. Taking over spot number 2 is Kevin Spacey. Since 2017, the sexual misconduct allegations against the actor have been heavily documented ever since actor Anthony Rapp first accused him of unwanted sexual advances. Following the claims, he was fired from his Netflix show House of Cards and has been appearing in different court dates ever since, after 30 more victims came forward. It was announced at the end of 2019 that all charges had been dropped at this point, so people started to wonder if he could be making a comeback in 2020. The charges weren't dropped because he was not guilty, they were actually dropped because a handful of his victims had committed suicide and one woman passed away from cancer. However, Variety released a public statement saying, I quote, "Just because all charges were dropped doesn't mean that many won't or shouldn't be wary of working with him again." That will be so messed up, let me just say that. We've made it to number 1 and we have Molly Fitzgerald. I spoke about this actress in a previous video after she made headlines for being charged with murder. She took on the role of Stargirl in Captain America: The First Avenger, and she might have just lost any chance of being cast in a movie ever again. The 38-year-old actress was arrested and charged with second-degree murder for stabbing her own mother to death. Her mother was 68 years old and was found dead in her home. Molly was jailed on a $500,000 bond, and her next court date is scheduled for tomorrow, January 9th. I'm getting anxious. We still don't know any details yet on the case, and it hasn't been confirmed that she actually committed the murder, but it kinda is looking that way. Either way, having murder charges on your record probably isn't something that casting directors are willing to look past. Plus, if she is found guilty, she will be spending 2020 behind bars, and many years after that.